Adequate notice of this meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 6, 2014. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspapers, posted on public bulletin boards, and the Township website.
Thank you. At this time, please turn off your cell phones. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here.
Councilman Mumolo.
Here.
Councilwoman Pontarero. Vice President Fosman.
Here.
President Lydecker.
Here. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to please stand and salute the flag and join us in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'll advise the clerk to accept and file the reports, please.
Yes.
Thank you. And we do have, one of my favorite parts of council meetings is our presentations. And I'd like to begin with Mercedes Boylan. Thank you.
Okay, we're lucky to have Mercedes Boylan with us here today. She was a big asset to Brick Township as well as Point Pleasant Borough a couple of Sundays ago when we had the big fire off of Midstream's, off of Jordan Road, in the Midstream sections over there. And the way the story went is that Mercedes and her father were going to go bird watching, right? We're canoeing, and they were going outside and setting up the canoe. And Mercedes looked over and she saw some smoke on the other side of the water. And so she said, "Hey, Daddy, there's smoke over there." And Mr. Boylan's response was, "Oh, wherever there's smoke, there's fire." And he left and went inside because he forgot his binoculars or forgot something else. But luckily, he left his cell phone behind. And Mercedes, as her dad was inside, Mercedes grabbed the cell phone and dialed 911 and was able to report the fire, which obviously saved a lot of homes and property damage and everything, because where the fire was located, you wouldn't really see it from the brick side. So the thing could have been really raging, and if people weren't in their backyards or luckily going canoeing and / bird watching, we would have really had more of a problem there. The firefighters did a great job once they got there, but without the warning of Mercedes here, we could have had a really bad situation. So because of everything that Mercedes did for our town and for our townspeople and our own townspeople, I, John G. Ducey, the mayor of the Township of Brick in the County of Ocean in the state of New Jersey, in honor of her vigilance and concern for others, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 22nd, 2014 to be Mercedes Boylan Day here in the Township of Brick.
Thank you. And,
Give a shout out to our friends.
thanks for coming and hi. I don't know.
That's all right.
Okay.
Councilwoman Zapsik also on behalf of the council.
Hi, Mercedes. My name is Andrea. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so very much. So I have something to read to you from the council, so we wanted to recognize you too. Whereas emergency first responders rely on the diligence of the public to help them protect the health and well-being of residents, and whereas on Sunday, April 13th, 2014, Mercedes Boylan, a third grader from neighboring Point Pleasant, was out for a kayak ride with her father, Sean, on the Beaver Dam Creek. And whereas Mercedes, upon seeing smoke in the direction of Brick Township, took the independent initiative to call 911 and notify emergency officials. Whereas as a result of her call, officials responded to a large brush fire in the area of Jordan Road, which required an extensive response, including road closures, evacuations, and aerial helicopter drops of fire retardant to control the blaze and keep residents and property safe. And whereas her neighbors and surrounding community, including the residents of Brick Township, are extraordinarily grateful and consider Mercedes a hero for her actions. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, and State of New Jersey as follows. We join Mayor John G. Ducey in recognizing Mercedes Boylan and her alertness and proactive community spirit. We wish Mercedes continued success and good fortune.
Now, Mercedes is 9 years old, so that's equally impressive. But I want to let you know that that resolution that the Councilwoman Zaffer just read to you, that's always going to be here in the records of Brick. So when you're coming back in 20 or 30 years and you want to show your kids or your grandkids way later on, there's always going to be a resolution saying what you did for our town. So,
Okay, that's cool.
all right.
Thank you.
Mercedes, I'm not sure the proclamation or the resolution will get you out of day of school, but it's great for show and tell.
Come on, my love. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
I'm going to ask the mayor to stay on the floor, please, while we recognize the Brick Memorial High School varsity mock trial team. If the team could come up with Coach Pesmino, please.
This is something that's close to my heart because actually I've been the county coordinator of the high school mock trial competition here in Ocean County since 1998. So it's the 16th year, and out of those whole 16 years, and actually every year before that, this team is the first team ever to win from the Township of Brick. So it's a very, very big accomplishment. Because they're in it every single year. Brick Memorial's in it. Brick Township High School's in it as well. And finally, Brick Memorial broke through for our town in general to win the overall county. The mock trial competition has been going on for 32 years, and it's run by the New Jersey State Bar Association, but locally it's obviously run by the Ocean County Bar Association. And the amount of time that the attorneys, as well as the witnesses and the experts, witnesses, that they have to put into the case is unbelievable. And when you see the high school teams actually perform, they're much better than you see on a regular day. If you go down to the courthouse at 10 o'clock in the morning and you see attorneys who are up there who are getting paid for this, and then you go on a Saturday when the high school teams are competing, you can see the quality of work is actually higher on this end than it is in some cases. Not always, but in some cases for sure. They did compete on Saturday, I believe it was February 1st, and then also on Tuesday night, February 4th, where that was the Ocean County Championship. And they were able to get through the first round, the second round, the Final Four, and then the Ocean County Championship, which allows them to then go on to the state tournament, where for some reason it's rare for Ocean County to get a win at the state tournament level, and the Brick Memorial team was able to get a first round win, and unfortunately they lost to Camden County in the second round. The students, they are all excellent. I saw them compete on that Saturday, and I want to congratulate them. And I also want to say, I, John G. Ducey, the mayor of the Township of Brick in the County of Ocean and the state of New Jersey, in recognition of their winning the 2013-14 Ocean County Mock Trial Championship. Because of that, I proclaim Wednesday, May 21st, 2014, to be Brick Memorial High School Varsity Mock Trial Team Day. So congratulations. And The members of the team who are here, they are Griffin Carney, who's the team captain, Alec DeBarry, the co-captain, Rob Triano, Matt Lyons, Ryan Bruett, Sean Malaya, Damian Rivera, Steve Shockett, George Simonovich, Stephanie Barnman, Chris Hazard, Mark Hall, and Sebastian Justiniano, right? Is that Justiniano? I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And of course, the coach Pazmino. So congratulations.
I would like to offer our sincere congratulations on behalf of the council. I do want to note that we have a tremendous sports league here in town. At every council meeting, we're recognizing some sports team. We have the boys bowling team here this evening, but it's rare that we get to recognize scholastic academics as well. I just want to say how proud we are that you've made us in Ocean County, and we don't have a proclamation for everyone, but we do have these awesome certificates, and you can use them in your high school and like college internships and stuff, probably. So, this is for the coach. We have a copy for you, and a copy for the team, and certificates. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Back in February, while most of us were complaining about the cold and wondering if there was more snow in our future, the Brick Memorial Boys Bowling Team was headed into the NJSIAA Tournament of Champions as the #1 seed. That day, February 27th, our boys defeated the #4 seed Ewing in the first round, and then defeated the #3 seed in the final, winning them the Group 4 state title and earning them the right to be called the best boys bowling team in New Jersey. Could I ask the members of the Brick Memorial Boys Bowling Team to please come forward? Whereas Brick Township has a well-deserved reputation as consistently having some of the most competitive and successful interscholastic bowling teams in the state, and whereas on February 26, 2014, the Brick Memorial High School Mustangs boys bowling team added to that tradition by capturing the NJSIAA Tournament of Champions title by defeating Immaculata High School at Carolier Lanes. And whereas this was the first overall state championship in the history of Brick Memorial High School, whereas in addition to the Tournament of Champions title, the Mustangs captured the Group 4 state championship and was named the New Jersey Team of the Year as the #1 team in the state by the Star Ledger. And whereas the members of the state champion Mustang boys bowling team are Brett Downs, Jimmy Hulsart, Jared Stewart, Joe Opela, Brian Coop, Robbie Guzman, Austin Dodato, Cullen Asaro, and Andrew Lazarchik. And whereas the Mustangs were most ably led by Coach Mike Bilello, now therefore it be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, and State of New Jersey as follows. We extend our highest congratulations to the Brick Memorial High School Mustangs boys bowling team and head coach Mike Bilello on their outstanding season, which culminated in their capturing the NJSIAA Tournament of Champions title and the #1 ranking in the state. We thank the Mustangs for representing their school, their peers, and our community in such an exemplary way this season. Coach?
Congratulations to the boys bowling team for all the reasons that Councilwoman Zapsik has previously stated. I, John Giudice, the mayor of the Township of Brick and the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, in honor of their outstanding season that all culminated in the capturing of the NJSIA Tournament of Champions title and earning the #1 ranking in the state of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim Friday, May 23rd, 2014, to be Brick Memorial High School Mustangs Boys Bowling Team Day. And that's a day that Brett, who's the one senior on the team, he has the senior prom that day, so it's Friday is a big day for you. You have not only the day for being on the bowling team, but your senior prom as well. So congratulations to everybody, though, and see the rest of you back next year.
Okay.
Don't everybody leave now, it gets exciting.
Oh, Mama-o.
Chase, there we
Just gonna give everyone a minute. We do have one more presentation, which is actually more of a discussion. In the last few days, I had sent my council members some information about sustainable brick. This is one of the committees that I am on. It was formerly known as the Mayor's Advisory Committee of Renewable Energy, but that is a tongue twister, so we changed the name to Sustainable Brick. I wanted to give the public and my council some information about 2 resolutions that will be upcoming in a future council meeting, and we're hoping for June. The 2 action items that I'd like to discuss with them is a sustainable land use pledge. And before I begin the description, the reason why we're bringing this to a public discussion is because we are trying to get into the Sustainable New Jersey program. And when you reach a certain amount of points, you get put into a category. There's 3 categories, bronze, silver, and gold. And when you reach one of those categories, you can apply for a multitude of grants that will help sustain our infrastructure, change out windows, change out lights, making us more energy efficient, and in some instances, bike trails, making transportation more greener and more easier for our pedestrians or people that choose to not own cars for environmental reasons or their own reasons. The public discussion helps us earn points towards that bronze, and then when we pass the resolution, that helps us earn points as well. So it's almost like 2 bites out of the apple, so to speak. You get double points for doing the same thing. The first resolution would be Sustainable Land Use Pledge. And what this does is, as a council and as a land use committee and as a planning board and zoning committee, we would make a public affirmation for the municipality's intent to support lots of S's, sustainable, smart growth land policies. This tool provides a model resolution to be adopted by a municipality as a first step towards growth land use policies. One instance would be if you have a land site, you could put commercial on the bottom, and instead of building a whole new complex, you could put apartments or condos or something like that, residences on top of that complex. This way you use one footprint to do 2 things instead of building on a whole new site that we could leave open to save land. You know, nobody needs to cut down all the trees. But it is for long term. So when we have redevelopment, we want to do it smart. You know, we want to make sure that I just need to get my thoughts together to explain it properly to you. We want to make sure we're doing it in the best possible way to sustain growth, to sustain the environment, and what benefits our residents the best. I know that wasn't the best explanation, but does anyone have anything to add to this discussion? Maybe some ideas that they have, or why they think this is a good idea or not such a great idea?
I think it's a great idea. It's part of the mayor's 100-day plan that is always ongoing. It's point number 31, work to obtain certification with Sustainable New Jersey so we can receive those grants in the future. So anything that I know this council can do to help move that forward, I know I'm all for.
Thank you. Okay, and then the second part of this is a green grounds maintenance resolution. And this is something that Brick practices already. We practice it in our public spaces where we plant only indigenous plants that use less water, different types of fertilizer that are less pollutant to the environment, low nitrogen fertilizer. I say indigenous plants because they use less water. That way we can conserve water as well, because we have to pay for our water. So it benefits us environmentally and financially as well. And when you go around town, you'll see a lot of this, especially at Traders Cove. An example, a commercial example would be the AMP Plaza. They have beautiful landscaping that's very low maintenance because they use all indigenous plants. And I think that it's easy to adopt this one because it's something we already do here in Brick. Did anyone have any comments or suggestions towards this? We haven't written up the resolutions yet. We want it to be a discussion and present the information so we can come together as a council and put all of our ideas together for the resolution.
Council President. Go ahead.
I saw like they had the insect repellent, and I know we're not responsible at the county, but do you know if the county uses whatever would be compliant with the program?
Well, that is a very good question, Mayor, and I appreciate that. One policy that would be part of this resolution is that we would have to have a great working relationship with the county, so we're all on board together. Because if we build a complex here in Brick that benefits the whole Ocean County community, if that happens, we would want their input as well. And hopefully they would foot the bill for some of it. But yes, we would want to speak with the county about all of these initiatives. And that's actually a priority in here, that when we meet at Sustainable Brick, we have to pull people in from the Shade Tree Commission and different boards in all of Ocean County. It is an open board, so people from Toms River, Lavalette, whoever is around us is more than welcome to come and speak with us about this too. So that will actually be one of the paragraphs in the resolution. Yes?
In recreation, we are doing a couple of the parks in town here, and one of the things that we had brought up was to make sure that we use the indigenous plants for the passive areas of the parks, just to make sure, like you said, they're easier to maintain, they're less money for us in town, so that is something that recreation is definitely looking at for our parks.
Yeah. And you also lessen the possibility of introducing a species that could run rampant. One example would be bamboo. I don't think we would put that in one of our parks or public spaces anyway, but there are different types of flowers and vines that can really get out of control if you don't have a tight maintenance schedule on it. Okay, well, thank you everyone for entertaining the discussion. I appreciate it. And we can move on to the regular consent agenda. Okay. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is required on any item, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. There is one item that was taken off earlier today, and that is 17A, assignment of tax sale certificate. The person no longer wished to purchase the tax sale certificate. Moving on, for one is recognize Mercedes Boylan. She is a tremendous third grader from our neighbor in Point Pleasant, and without her her watchful eyes and her quick thinking, there could have been some serious trouble down on Jordan Road. R2, recognize Brick Memorial High School varsity mock trial team. Congratulations again to them, and I hope that we can see more academics come through our council chambers in the near future. 4-3, recognize Brick Memorial High School boys bowling team. Again, congratulations to them. They did an excellent job. And bowling is a lot of fun. I hope they continue with that sport and keep it alive. 4-4, authorize receipt of bid for the food truck concession. And I would like our mayor to please address this.
Yes, we're trying something new here in Brick. We have something called Bricktoberfest. It's going to be October 18th, Saturday, October 18th, and we're going to incorporate a food truck war. Some other places around the area have had them. Normally, they were just done around the country, but now they're getting closer to home. Monmouth Park has done them the last couple of years, and very, very successful. And this past weekend, Loretta Winery had it, but we want to bring it here to Brick, extend our summer a little bit longer, all the way out to October 18th, and have a Bricktoberfest event. And this is going out to bid for those food trucks to see how many we get and what types of foods we get.
So
Nice.
it has the possibility of being more than one type of truck. It could be a multitude.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of trucks, because it's a
Oh,
food
'cause
truck
it's a
war.
food truck war. Okay.
And it's going to
Well,
be at,
that makes sense.
Windward Beach, and there's going to be truck after truck, different types of food. So you go from a lobster roll truck to a crepe truck to, giving some ideas for people to bid on.
What is that?
Thai Asian.
Oh. Sounds like a really great idea. I'm looking forward to that. 4-5, authorize award a bid, EMS equipment and first aid supplies. Sealed bids were received by the Division of Purchasing and Contracting in the Township of Brick for EMS equipment and first aid supplies on April 29th. And these bids have been reviewed by the Police EMS Department. There were 32 prospective bidders, 7 requested bids, and only 3 bids were received. So therefore, we are awarding the 2-year contract commencing May 21st, ending on May 20th, 2016, to V.E. Ralph, Boundtree Medical, and the Olympic Glove and Safety. 4-6, authorize award of bid printing services, and we did have another tie for this, and I would like to ask Ms. Call if she would be interested in coming up and giving me a hand with this, if you don't mind. Thank you.
As Council President.
Yes.
I do.
While I'm president, you are.
We had, surprisingly, last time, I think a couple weeks ago, I said it was rare to have a tie, and now, this meeting we have 2. There were several hundred items of printing bid. There are 2 ties. The first is item 19 on the bid submissions, which was department addressed envelopes. They come in units of 1,000 per department, and the unit price, the tie, both bidders bid for year 1, $25 per unit, and year 2, $26 per unit. That was by Centurion Printing, and the other bidder was Erner Barry. The second tie was item 109. That's for printing of an additional victim report. That unit price of year 1, $85, and year 2, $86. It was a tie submitted by Centurion Printing and then by EIRC. And as you know from last meeting, we break those ties by a coin flip. And I will first ask the Township Clerk on item 19, Centurion Printing and Erner Barry. I need a heads and a tails.
Centurion Printing will be heads, and Erner Barry will be tails.
Sure. Centurion Printing,
Is heads.
heads. Standard quarter of the bicentennial this year. Tails.
Listen, this is probably more appropriate for a woman of my age.
You see it?
Heads.
That is a heads.
All right.
That would be
Centurion.
2 for 2.
Okay, item
Right? Yeah. It was heads last time, too. She's
I
good.
know, I just said that.
You're on my team next time.
Okay.
Item 109 between Centurion Printing and EIRC. I have the heads and the tails.
Centurion Printing will be heads, and EIRC will be tails.
Oh, for
Told you,
street.
now to change.
It is tails. Now I'm going to EIRC.
Nan, Nan needs to look at that quarter again, so needs to check it out.
That's all right. Starkey is still quarter.
Thank you very much, Ms. Call. I appreciate it. And Mr. Starkey. Okay, so for this bid, there were 55 prospective bidders, 13 picked up packages, 8 bids were received. The bids are going to Craftsman Printing, Ridgewood Press, McGuire Brothers, Centurion Printing, Print Data East Coast Distributing, EIRC, McCleary Printing, and Erner Barry. It is a 2-year contract, starting May 21st and ending on May 20th, 2016. For 7, authorized award of alternate public contract, Kaboom Playground Equipment. Can I ask my Parks and Rec Committee Chair to please address this?
Absolutely, Council President, I'd be delighted. This resolution awards a contract for the purchase of playground equipment at Windward Beach to BCI Burke. Last year, the township applied for and was awarded a Kaboom Playground grant, which basically, the amount of that, $9,000, gets applied to the purchase of this equipment. This project is part of the ongoing renovations of the playground areas at Windward. We had some aging structures that were removed last year, and they are going to be replaced with new. This particular playground equipment is we are going to create a dedicated play space for special needs children. And what's unique about it is that the space will be fully 100% accessible and simultaneously 100% inclusive, meaning that all children, regardless of ability, will be able to play together and enjoy together the equipment. The contract is being awarded in this way because the Kaboom grant required that we select one of 5 vendors of their choosing to purchase this equipment from, and BCI Burke was one of those 5. They were also on the New Jersey State contract, which means that we were able to get the best price for the equipment. And then finally, this grant requires a community build day. And essentially what that means is that once we have the equipment, the safety surface, all the pieces of the puzzle in place, we will be scheduling a day where volunteers from the community can come out and volunteer their time to help us assemble the equipment and build out the playground under the supervision of a certified professional playground installation company so that all liability issues are addressed. So we don't have the date yet for the community build playground day, but we will announce it when we have it, and we hope that some of you will come out that day and help us create this playground for our children, which will truly be one of a kind in Brick.
Thank you very much. For 8, authorized change order number 1 final, Lake Riviera roadway drainage improvements. The business administrator has recommended that change order number 1 final be authorized and that the contract issued to Mako Inc. be decreased by $46,195.85, and the contract be commensurately decreased from $1,504,591 to $1,458,395.64. Love seeing those decreases. For 9, authorized sale of township surplus personal property auction through Municibid, and I'm going to ask our DPW chair to please address this.
Thank you, Council President. This is surplus that is no longer needed for public use. This is equipment, police cars, and various other items. There are 61 pieces of equipment that were sold last year on this Municibid site, and we've made $97,000. That went to the capital. This year, we have 59 pieces of equipment, and of course, the equipment is no longer needed by the township, or it's old, and it's time to put it up for sale. Municipal charges us no fee at all. We don't pay any. We don't have to pay anything out to them to do this. The buyer pays all the fees for whatever they buy. So we just get a straight check once they're done. They do everything. They come out and take pictures of all the equipment. They put it online. They do everything. So it's a win for us on that. Thank you.
Thank you. 410, authorized participation in the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission Cooperative Purchasing System. This is a co-op that we are able to go through to get cheaper rates on lots of supplies. This would be for, but not limited to, copy paper, grounds equipment, Motorola radios, lockers, custodial supplies, and a multitude of other things. It's just easier for us to go through a larger cooperative and get things much cheaper than we would be able to purchasing it on our own. Do any of the council people have questions about that? I think this may be the first one that's come through this year.
Council President?
Yes.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. As you know, I work full-time for the city of Rahway, and we've been part of the MRESC for quite some time. And I have to tell you, we've gotten some incredible purchases, discounts on equipment. I just recently bought an auto scrubber for my gym floor. It's a $10,000 machine. We got it for about $7,000.
That's
So
fantastic.
it's a great tool.
Thank you. 411, authorize removal of Robert A. Rothstein from conflict municipal prosecutor pool. He was inadvertently added to the original resolution, and this resolution is removing him. 412, authorize removal of Matthew Sage from conflict public defender pool. He, again, on January 20th, 2014, was inadvertently added, and this is removing him as well. 413, authorize participation in the 2014 multi-jurisdictional all-hazard mitigation plan for Ocean County. If you recall, this is the one that was pulled from the previous agenda, so the council can have much more time to go over that very extensive plan. And I'm going to ask our business administrator to give us a little background on that.
Thank you, Council President. The county recently adopted its all-hazard mitigation plan, which includes all of the communities within the county, including Brick Township. This was done after an extensive several years period of time and included Brick Township employees, our OEM coordinator, our risk manager and safety police chief, and several other folks participated in the drafting and several revisions of the plan, which has since been approved by FEMA. Now that it has been approved by FEMA and adopted by the county, each town within the county has to, by resolution, acknowledge that we adopt and hereby follow this plan. As a show that we acknowledge a document, and we do intend to practice hazard mitigation planning if needed, depending on whatever event may occur. It's an all-hazard plan, so it's should cover pretty much anything that could possibly happen. By adopting this resolution and being a participant in the plan, we are now eligible for a whole host of FEMA grants that the township was not eligible for because it was not part of an approved plan. So this opens the door for us for a lot of opportunities for our residents that we will be aggressively pursuing in the coming months. So there are several benefits to this plan, and I would encourage you to consider becoming a participant in it.
Thank you. Was there any questions from council about the plan? Okay. 414, authorize tax liens for property cleanup through Public Works for property 1625 Edge Street in the amount of $601.23. We have situations like this where unfortunately property has just become derelict, it's overgrown, it's now a hazard to the surrounding community, and so our Public Works Department must go in and clean the property. 415, authorized special events permit for River Rock. We had seen this in the first, a month ago, and they are applying for the June 1st through June 30th for their permit. And this is actually a really great event. They have a little beach that they built out there with some outdoor entertainment, and they are just asking to continue their special events permit for the month of June. There is outside music until 10 o'clock, but you can be outside from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I understand that we're doing this month to month because of the different special permits that they had and the rebuilding that they were doing. But I assume because this is on the agenda, everything is coming along nicely at that site?
That is correct, Council President. River Rock has worked aggressively with the state on resolving its CAFRA issue, and immediately thereafter proceeded with securing the necessary permits in our building department for the work that's needed. So we are quite satisfied that they've met our requirements to continue consideration for the special events permit.
Thank you. Were there any questions from council? Okay. 416, bond release reductions. TCB Associates had posted a cash performance bond in the amount of $69,262.90. The township engineer advised that a portion of the required improvements have been completed and is requesting the amount to be reduced to $20,779.36. 417, tax collector. A is the assignment of tax sale, which was off of the agenda. 17B, Senior Citizens Deduction Grant for Samuel Best in the amount of $250. C, tax overpayments 2014 for 717 Princeton Avenue for $879.62 and 716 Herbertsville Road in the amount of $1,893.95. And D, redemption of tax sales certificate for 86 Fairview Ave, certificate 2010/0189. We have Resolution 18, authorize the Township of Brick and the NJDEP to enter upon and take possession of real property for the purpose of construction, repair, restoration, and/or replacement of flood hazard risk reduction measures. I'm going to ask our business administrator to address this.
Thank you, Council President. The council previously passed 2 resolutions in accordance with the Disaster Control Act that would provide the DEP with access to the properties along the oceanfront as necessary to construct the steel revetment. Those resolutions were to address residents who did not provide easements voluntarily. However, tonight, the property in question for this resolution is 12 Ocean Terrace, which is block 42.04, lot 12. They had provided an easement to the township that was approved by the DEP, and it was sent to the Ocean County Clerk's office to be recorded. However, it was returned from the clerk's office as unacceptable because the property owner did not sign her name. She printed her name, and they would not record it without a formal signature. We have contacted this resident multiple times who indicated she would sign and send it back to us. But we, as of today, had not received that signed document, even though we sent it by FedEx with prepaid envelopes. We still haven't gotten it back. We need to provide access to the property to begin construction for the steel wall revetment project for the DEP, since they have awarded the contract. The kickoff meeting for that is going to be on Thursday, so things are moving quickly. The DEP, as a result, has requested us to place this resolution on our agenda for tonight, since we are ready, the project is ready to begin in earnest, and this one easement really cannot hold it up. So that's what we're asking for the council to approve tonight.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the council members? Okay. This is the end of our consent agenda. Call for a motion and second to end the consent agenda.
I make a motion?
Second. Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. And at this time, I'd like to open to the public for questions or comments on the consent agenda. Mr. Scott, a little higher. Can't really see. I'm short. I can't see over people's heads sometimes. Thank you. I missed you last time, too.
I did my homework for the last meeting, so I didn't have to attend. A quick question, I guess, to Councilwoman Zapsik about number 7. Great that we're getting this Kaboom grant. Basically, it's giving us the equipment, not so much the money. They'll send it to the vendor. My question is, though, volunteers, and you could put me down that day because my granddaughter is a special needs child.
Thank you.
$8,000 to supervise putting the equipment in. The vendor doesn't have somebody that comes and does that? I mean, even though the original price is $32,000, roughly $32,000 for the equipment.
Right.
How do we get stuck with an $8,000 bill for a supervisor?
My understanding is that that supervision is actually not BCI Burke, that's a separate company that is providing the supervision. And basically, they are it would be the same as if we had to hire them to install the equipment themselves. We're really paying for the liability because it's their liability certificate, they are a professional playground installation company. Their installers are certified, they will be there. And I really think that what we as volunteers are going to do that day is not so much actually pouring concrete and driving pieces of equipment into the ground. We're probably going to be opening boxes and things like that.
Do you feel this $8,000 is warranted? And
Unfortunately, yes. I've done a number of playground installs in Rahway. Unlike here in Brick, where we work with an engineer and we kind of write a check and show up for the ribbon cutting, When I do a playground in Rahway, I order the equipment, very much like what we're doing with this. I order the equipment, I arrange the installation, I order the safety surface, and 8,000 is about standard for a playground installation.
It was the cheapest.
It
went
would
from 8
depend
to like
on
9.
the amount that's, the amount of, the size of the structure and what is required in the installation. But for a playground of this size, 8,000 is about standard.
I leave that up to you. You would know better than I would. And on number 18, explanation for the business, who's picking up the tab for this? DEP or us?
Joanne, would you like to address that?
For the resolution or for the actual easement? The
Uh,
actual, the actual eminent
Well-
domain is the state.
So the state's going to do it?
Yes.
That works for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public about the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close to the public and ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Momolo?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to bill resolution, computer 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Amended computer bill resolution in the amount of $1,249,397.23.
Thank you. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilwoman Zapsik. And I'm going to open to council for any questions they had about bill resolutions. Councilwoman?
I just wanted to confirm, I feel like I've asked this question a million times. I saw a bunch of bills that were going back to 2011, 2012. Those are for ongoing projects that are still ongoing, correct? Like, there was the Windward Beach project that was started in 2011, and we're just now finishing or getting to putting it together.
My answer would depend on the vendor.
Yes.
But in generally, I would say yes to that, as an
Okay.
answer to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Then I'll open to the public.
Wait.
Yes, oh, I apologize.
Sorry. And just to confirm, the planning board rider expenses also includes like the Board of Adjustments and all of those accounts?
Yeah, planning board and zoning board are combined into one rider.
Okay, thank you.
Council President, I have a question.
Yes.
On page 10, Connor Strong and Buckaloo. Could you explain that, please?
We are required to have liability insurance for any personnel that operate the lift, the boat lift at the marina. We have 3 full-time employees at the marina, all of which operate the lift, and we are required to have liability insurance specific to that. That is not covered by our joint insurance fund, is not covered by the JIF, therefore we are required to do this.
Okay. Questions or comments from the public about the computer bill resolution?
Mr. Scott.
Mr. Scott, take my suggestion about staying up front.
I had 9 questions, would have to do my due diligence yesterday, I'm down to 2.
Okay.
Number 1 is Arcadis.
Oh, yes.
Bill, $100,000.
Page 3.
Yes.
99,000 and
Page 3.
change.
I was highlighting.
My question, and I did speak to our chief financial officer, in reference to paying these ongoing bills of this magnitude, I'm asking the council, when do you foresee us getting some of these monies back? I know we've gotten about $6 million so far coming our way, but we're really on the hook for a lot more money. So
Yes.
they're generating their bills, we're paying them, but we're not getting any money back. Where are we at?
Mr. Scott, if you recall a few months ago, I had said, this is crazy, we're spending all this money. We have no idea when we're getting it back. Who cares if it's a 90-10 split if we never see a dime of it? But if any of the other council members would like to join in.
In addition to that, so let me add on to that, and then that's why I keep bringing it up. If they're getting billed, they're to find where the money should be coming from. But in the meantime, we go out for these special emergency notes, of which we're paying the debt on those notes. I would be okay if FEMA was gonna pick up 90% of that financing, but they don't pick up anything. So the longer this goes on, let's say we go to the end of this year, we're not gonna recoup any of that money. That's why I'm saying, we have these professionals, they generate this bill, but what do they do to help us get the money? I'm lost there.
Well, I would give you my opinion, but I think I voiced enough
Keep
of
it
it.
clean,
But
keep it
I'd like
clean.
to hand it over to the administrative table for the facts of the matter.
Well, Arcadis is two-pronged with handling some mitigation stuff, but also being fully responsible for requesting the reimbursements. We have had FEMA on site and examining all of our project worksheets. We have had 3 full-time people here doing all that to help us make sure that the reimbursements are flowing in timely. It's the project worksheets. If they have questions here, questions there, they bounce back around on email, and it just seems to, this process doesn't seem to be resolved. But we have had 2 auditors and 1 representative from FEMA specific to the storm that have been here in the building all of last week. They're here again this week, and they will be here again next week from 8 a.m. till about 6 or 7 p.m. every day. And so that is a great sign that things are moving in terms of the timeliness of our reimbursement requests. They are fully dedicated to answering every question. We have dedicated as many staff as needed as they snap their fingers and want to talk to, whether it's the CFO or DPW superintendent. We have that employee in the room to answer any and all questions, so these project worksheets get signed and the money gets released. That's the most hopeful answer that I can give you. I can't predict FEMA or the federal government or the timeliness of these reimbursements. I can only speak to our commitment to being responsive immediately to their inquiries.
From what I understand, a lot of the federal money has been given to the state, but the state is actually holding back, I guess because of audits and whatnot. But
That's partially because of the audits, but the other part is because the state, the folks that are working on releasing this money, the number of employees that they have is minimal compared to the number and volume of requests. My understanding from folks I know at NJOEM is last month they finally did a mass hiring of about 25 employees, specifically because these projects were not moving. The reimbursements are not moving. Towns, of our size that could manage this debt and can manage waiting for the money are okay, but smaller towns, a lot of smaller towns, actually couldn't fiscally function. So I'm hopeful that hiring, the mass hiring, is going to dedicate the right number of people to reviewing and signing off these project worksheets.
okay. And my last question on the bill is reference to legal bills. Gilmore and Monahan, again, we're in there for about 10,000. I think I asked this question once before. Is it, duplicative? I don't believe that it is. There was no bill from the firm of Starkey. They must have a lot of money that they don't need to put the bill in.
We had the same question here at council, and it's the same answer as some of the other previous professionals that worked for us. They were ongoing cases that they were so far into, it didn't make sense to turn them over to a new attorney,
But
just
the
let
dates
them
on the
finish
bill
it.
show that some of these expenses were incurred between, let's say, April 1st and April 20th.
Yes,
So-
if I can address that, because I've been overseeing the work done by attorneys in town. There is some work, in the case of the firm you're talking about, it's primarily on tax appeals and the revetment work, the easements up on the beach. And the reason they're continuing with that work and sort of winding it down is because I believe it was more cost-effective, rather than getting another attorney from my firm, another firm, up to speed on what are some fairly complicated issues, to let them finish it out. And those, both of those issues will be wrapping up shortly, but until they do, I still think it's more cost-effective for them to do it than for somebody else to get up a steep learning curve and build a township for that work.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public on the bill resolutions for Computer 2014? Okay. I will ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Abstain on New Jersey press media, yes to the rest.
Councilman Mumalo?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Abstain on the MBWA and yes to the rest.
President Leidecker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, bill resolution, manual 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and the clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $1,458,933.03.
Thank you. Motion and second?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Zapsik, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. And I'm going to open to the public and council for questions, comments. Seeing none, I will ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Abstain on township payroll, and yes to the rest.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to ordinances on first reading. There is no public hearing on ordinances of the first reading. Ordinance 1, amend Chapter 175, fees, emergency medical services.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Section 175-17 of the Township Code entitled Maximum Fee Reimbursement Charges to change one existing fee and to establish a fee for Narcon.
Thank you. This is something that, if you recall, a few weeks ago, we had changed some of the other EMS fees. This is a continuation of this. The fee for the EpiPen shall be changed from $150 to $200, and a new subsection 8 shall be added, which shall establish a fee for the Narcan, which will read Narcan $150. Motion and second, please.
I'd like to make motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Number 2, amend Chapter 245, signs.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to amend Article 36, Signs, Chapter 245-13, entitled General Regulations Exceptions.
Thank you. What we're trying to accomplish through land use in this ordinance is an issue that we would see coming through the planning board. When a new business came into town, they could only have a sign on one or two sides of their building, and sometimes it would not be on a thoroughfare that you would expect. An example would be Tommy's Coal-Fired Pizza. They have one on the front, and they do have a huge parking lot and a thoroughfare on the other side, although they don't have a side there. And this is what we want to change, so they would have a sign on the thoroughfares. But I'd like to speak with the township attorney. If you read Section A, paragraph 12, the second to last line, it says erected on 2 sides. I would request that we change that to 3 sides.
So you can change that. I recommend that when you have a motion for first reading, right now, that motion include the change to 3 sides. We can have it published that way.
Thank you. Okay, motion and second, please.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilman Mumalo. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Number 3, amend Chapter 250, Land Use Procedures, Architectural Review Committee. I used to sit on the planning board myself as well as this particular committee. Thankfully, Mr. Mumalo came in and took over that position. He reviewed the ordinance for this, and he thought that there's a better way that we can do this. So I'd like him to explain the changes that we'll be making.
Okay. The Architectural Review Committee, normally if a homeowner, a single-family homeowner was coming in for, had to go to planning board or Board of Adjustment, they'd have to come into the architectural review. We're going to eliminate the single-family home. We're going to keep multifamily home. We're going to keep commercial. And I did notice on the ordinance that we neglected to carry over multifamily, residential major subdivision, which I believe should be put in there if we could move that into this for the first reading. That's a subdivision that's for single-family homes or more. And then we'll put that back in so that we can review that. Basically, what the architectural review looks at is the overall structure, lighting, mechanicals, but we felt it was a big incumbence on the single-family homeowners that are rebuilding now from Sandy that had to come in front of the board.
And it'll save them money too and
Yes.
time for not bringing in their professionals. Motion and second, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilwoman Zapsik. Roll call, please.
I just wanted to clarify the addition to the single family, you wanted that added to what section?
We're going to remove the single family. We're going to put back in, let me see exactly how it reads here.
Which paragraph is that in?
Residential major subdivision. So it'll read attached dwellings and non-residential
Which
buildings.
section are you reading?
And additions.
Which section is that, I'm sorry?
Section is 250-45.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amend Chapter 276, massage establishments.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey. Hold on, I'm sorry.
You need it.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to repeal Chapter 276 entitled Massage Parlors and replace it with a revised Chapter 276 entitled Massage Establishments.
Thank you. Changes to this ordinance came about because written requests came in through our clerk's office, and Ms. Diana Roan made her own written recommendations, and we definitely took them to heart. One of the changes we made is going from massage parlor to massage establishment. We eliminated the additional background checks, which cost a lot of money. There was a substantial fee in there, and we brought it down to $200 to match the state statute. We eliminated the individual operators' fees, and what we really wanted to do is make business more cost-effective, reduce the government, reduce the cost of business while maintaining our oversight for these establishments. There is just a lengthy process for someone to come and open up a massage establishment in town, and rightfully so. In my eyes, we are changing the ordinance to reflect the real needs to register these businesses here in town. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion?
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Miss Mariano's yes.
Mhm. Moving on to, that's okay. Moving on to ordinances on the second reading. There is public comment on these, as well as council comment. Ordinance 1, amend Chapter 2, Special Law Enforcement Officers.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 2, Article 20 of the Township Code of the Township of Brick entitled Special Law Enforcement Officers.
Thank you. And because this is on our mayor's 100-day plan, I would like him to address this.
Thank you. This is allowing the extra special law enforcement officers to be part of our roster. The reason why we need them is in order to cut down on overtime is one good reason, because the state, through the AOC, came down with a directive that we have to have security out in the hallway wanding people on court days for metal. And rather than have regular police officers out there doing that, making higher overtime, we're able to speak with the police union, who is willing to allow special officers to do that duty. And then also, as it stands now, or actually as it stands up until we have the extra officers, regular police officers make an arrest, and then they come in and they actually do the booking themselves. They do the fingerprinting, the photograph, taking all the information from the defendant. And one of two things: either rather have the officer back out on the road, out there making another arrest to bring in, or going home if it's the end of his shift, instead of making the extra overtime by sticking around having to do that other types of work. So now the special police officers are also allowed to do the bookings. which is going to make our town safer, and it's going to save money, and that's why we're passing this.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments from council? Open to the public. Would anybody like to wish to speak on this ordinance? Yes, Mr. Reed.
Larry Reed, 475 Normandy Drive. I like the ordinance. My question is there a special 1 and a special 2 officers?
There is. I wish the chief was here. This is the Class 1. Yeah, the Class 2 we do not have here in the town.
What
Those
would
are
be the
ones that can
difference
carry the-
between a 1 and a 2?
Class 2 can carry guns. Beyond that, there's probably other differences. That's the main difference that I know of. We have the Class 1s.
Is there any possibility of adding Class 2 in the future on a seasonal basis?
You'd have to speak with the police chief. He hasn't had any desire. When he wants more manpower or something, he always comes to the administration, and we haven't heard that request from him yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Can I please get a motion and a second for this?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Okay. Number 2, amend Chapter 145, Construction Codes Uniform. And I would like to give this to Council Vice President Bosman again for the explanation.
Thank you, Council President. The new building fees were reviewed by our construction official, as well as being approved by the DCA. The building fees will increase in small increments for 3 years, which coincides with the building of the township. If you haven't pulled the permit for any work, just to let you know what goes on after these, if these permits are passed. If you haven't pulled a permit for any work, and you had work done in your home or on your home, the town is given the month of June to file a permit with no penalties. So it's amnesty for the month of June for anybody that needs to get permits for any work they've performed in their home. This is for anyone, not just the people that suffered from Sandy. This is for anybody that did any work in their house. If they turned their basement or they did their garage into a bedroom, any work that you did, this is an amnesty to get everybody back on track. It's safer when you get it inspected. The wiring will be checked, just to make sure everything's up to code in your house. Permits are good for 2 years, so if you come in and get a permit, just to let you know that it's good for 2 years. You start working 3 months down the road, and you can come in during business hours and apply for permits, or you can come in on Mayor's Night on June 17th. The mayor and the building department staff will be available, as well as the department heads, to answer any questions and to help fill out permits. So if you're having trouble or you can't make it in on time, that date on June 17th will be available to everybody out there. I just want to bring that up, Council President, about this.
Absolutely.
This here. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion.
Go. Public comment.
We will.
Oh.
A question, Vice President Fosman, we talked about that annual pool inspection. Do we
Oh,
want-
yes, sorry, yes. If we go to the attorney, make it one
Yeah, the
change in
attorney
there.
on the.
Yes, I'll,
The
I'll-
annual
if I can
pool
clarify,
inspection will
there's,
be for public pools.
this is a multi-page ordinance, but there's one item I know, Vice President Fosman, you wanted to clarify, and that is in section 145-3.1, P as in Peter, number 9. Currently, that says, this is under electrical subcode fees. There is a title of annual pool inspection. That should read annual public pool inspection, for the simple reason that private pools are not inspected annually. Only public pools have the electrical inspection annually. So I recommend that change be made. That is a non-material change. You can vote on it on second reading tonight with that change incorporated.
Thank you very much. I'd like to get in the motion in second, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Council Vice President Fosman. And at this time, I'd like to open to council for questions or comments. Open to public for questions or comments. Mr. Scott?
Council President. As Mr. Fosman said, the construction official went over these fees. I stopped in to see him the other day, and he asked how it compared to the others, and he was going to do a printout, but I don't get the big bucks that you guys get, so I didn't see the need of that. My question is, and with our budget going from a one-year period, we've just hired additional inspectors, people downstairs, our costs are going up. With these fees, my concern is I don't want to hear, like the governor, oh, we missed $800 million in revenue. We're in big trouble. The same situation here. That's why we went to shared services, because we were bleeding money out of this one department. Are these new fees going to at least be close, that we're not going to be hemorrhaging money like we were before?
And this is one of the reasons why we did that. Councilman, would you like to field
Yes,
that?
this past year, with the fees that we got in 2013, we accumulated 1.5 million just in permit fees. But when you accumulate that much money, you still have to go out and inspect the following year. So you're collecting the money ahead of time for fees, then you inspect. So the money that was produced during 13 is going to be enough to carry through with these fees increasing.
Is or is not?
It will be, should be. It's
Okay.
calculated that in 3 years'
there's-
time, I know we want to break even is what we want to do. And
I
that's the
would
goal
find
of this
that
whole.
great if we could.
That's
I
the
mean, not
goal.
make money. And the DCA won't let you make money. I mean, if in fact you are making money 3 years in a row, they make you roll back the fees.
Yeah.
But, again, to leave it in one person, I mean, I've had meetings, there's a person in the audience here who's pretty well informed on fees, and he's on the budget committee. And I know he had looked at this at one point. So my concern is just having one person, and I know the mayor looked into this, and we haven't a scale. 2014 is going to be one, 2015 goes up more and whatnot. But I gather at some point, if it's not doing what we want it to do, you're going to look at this again?
We can readdress it, yes.
Okay.
I think the mayor wanted to make a statement.
Yeah, I just want to say that our building official looked at this, and what he did is he based upon what we need to break even now, but we have a lot more permits being asked for now, and he also did projections out 3 years, going back to pre-Sandy money numbers. And the reason why he did that is to see how many permits we're going to have 3 years from now, compared, and also 3 years, the year before Sandy, because that's going to be the real number that we're eventually going to get back to. That's where we need to break even with all the employees, with their raises over the union raises and those types of things over the years, and make sure that we are breaking even. And that's the whole evaluation that was done. It was actually the first time, the DCA, when they had to review it, they said it's the first time they've ever seen a sliding scale like that. So we had to have a justification about why we're doing it that way. And the reason is because they don't want us to be making money or losing money. They want you to get as close to even as possible, and that's what this
Which is a
3-year
great
step
goal.
did.
So with that said, Mayor, here we are in May, so we've got 5 years of historical data to go by. So the number of permits that downstairs has had in this 5 months, based on what you're doing now, we should not have a problem. Is that what I'm hearing clearly?
Yes, that is exactly it. That's why we wanted to get as close to even. We're losing $700,000 a year.
And
and
over $1 million
We got to
in a
change
couple
it.
of years, it was way over 700,000. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Call?
Nan Call, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. I thought originally that it was said that the waiver of fees was only for Sandy-related work. You're saying that it didn't have to be Sandy-related work?
No,
And
would you-
coincident with that is, well, maybe I'll wait and let you
Yeah,
give
do
a
we-
yay or nay.
When you say the waiver of fees, you're talking about permit fees back?
permit fees.
Yeah, that was actually for the first couple months after Sandy, was for Sandy work only, for back in 2012
We had
and
a
13.
6-month period where we waived the fees originally.
Yeah.
But do you
And
mean
what-
for the June amnesty
The
program?
June amnesty, is that only for Sandy-related, or?
June amnesty is township-wide. That's why I explained about the basement and the fact that you might have a problem with the plumbing as opposed to the electricity, those types of things. You need to make our house safer so that, different fires, different things could happen all over town. So it's the entire town-wide, any work that was done without a permit, come on in, no fines, no penalties, and you have 1 month to do it.
And you talked about pulling a permit and that you have X amount of time to complete the work. Sounded like you said 2 years. If I wanted to have some electrical work done, say, or needed to have some electrical work, can I get the fee for the permit waived, go in and pull it, and get the electrician?
The fees are not being waived. The fines and penalties, that's the amnesty part. The permit
Okay.
fees, you're still paying. The person has to still come in and apply for a permit.
Why I wanted to make sure that
yeah.
I understand what's being
The-
said.
The whole 2 years thing, the reason why Vice President Fosma was speaking about that is because the fees are going up. So if you know you're going to do work over the next 2 years, come in and get the permit a little bit, you're going to save a little bit of money if you get your permit now, if you're going to do the work in, let's say, 6 months. So that's why he mentioned the 2 years, but
I
there's
will
no...
save money if I get the permit now. Let
Yes.
me be perfectly clear. I have not had any work done that needed a permit and not pulled. The most I can do is plug an extension cord in. Now I should have some electrical work done, and I do have non-Sandy related problems that I'm going to have to address at this point. It can no longer go. Some of it was partially Sandy. So to make sure I understand it, there is a permit fee. If I come in June and get a permit, I have to pay the fee for the permit?
Yes, but it's less expensive than it will be July 1st.
It is less expensive than July 1st. Now, see, this is the information that needs to get out, not just to me, I'm sure other people will benefit. So I needed that clarification. It would be advantageous to my pocketbook to come and get the permits and come and speak to somebody at some point about what I would do and how many permits I might need. Okay, the other part is under the uniform construction, there was a second part. I'm drawing a senior moment. Wasn't the fees? What was the second thing you spoke about, Mr. Starkey?
Pool?
The pool, yes, thank you very much. I want a clarification because this has been a subject of argument about what is private and what is public. The Greenbriers, I live in too, but we have a pool that is restricted to the members of the association, which means it's restricted to the people who live within that development. The question is our pool a public pool or a private pool?
That's a good question. In fact, we had a discussion about that before. That is a term under the Uniform Construction Code that is subject to the interpretation of the construction official. So I don't have a definitive answer for you, but I know that Dan Newman, our construction official, makes determinations like that in accordance with his review of the Uniform Construction Code, which is a statewide law that he is most familiar with and actually in the position to make that kind of decision.
But there's also a question of, I don't know what the agency is, health department or something that has
The Division of-
control over.
The Department of Community Affairs, which DCA, oversees the construction official.
Well, the construction, but I'm talking about inspections on these existing pools and meeting standards.
There are health department issues as well. That is correct.
Are they treated as a private or a public? Because when you read the document, it says the public, and I believe these to be private.
I'm hesitating to make a decision on any particular pool in Brick.
Okay, somebody be there on June 17th, is it? Is Mayor's Night in? I'll come and address it then.
June 17th, 6 o'clock. Mr. Newman will be here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Mr. Foster.
Sam Foster, 108 Chico Drive. I have one question. It's
not about any business tonight, but I want to know about about the Brick Township website.
We are on ordinance on second reading for the
Oh, I'm sorry,
construction
this is not
fees.
public comments?
Not yet.
I'm sorry about that.
Just a little bit, one more after this. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Slunka.
John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court, Evergreen Woods. My question is related to these permits. I should have asked it last time, and I think it was first reading, so I couldn't. If you bought a house 7 or 8 years ago, and there was work done in that house, how do you know if the permit, if they used the permit when they built this thing 20 years before? You know, that's my question. Again, I have stuff that's done in my house when I bought it 14 years ago.
Mr. Slunka, would you like our construction code official to get in touch with you and answer those questions, unless our township attorney would like to field that?
That's, Council President, that's exactly what I was going to say. The construction official has a record of that and can tell you.
Oh, so they would know way back to whenever it was, whether it was permitted?
I don't know how far back
So-
they keep records, but as far as
Right.
they do, they'll be able to tell
So
you.
my question is, if I bought a house 14 years ago, I can come in now and apply for a permit for something that might have been built 14 years ago?
You could.
And-
There may already have been a permit issued.
And then
It's- I
somebody
think-
has to come by and do the inspection on something that's 14 years old.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
I-
okay.
Well, if you put a bedroom in your garage, you know, and
I don't know
people
what-
do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know what the
I would
original
su-
construction was.
I would suggest the Council President's first comment was right. When
Let's
I
go
think
see the
probably you
construction
should-
people.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give it a shot, because I don't even have no idea what was done
Okay.
in 1976, 1980, and stuff like that.
I just want to give you one example of, because I had a conversation with Mr. Newman about, you know, construction that's already done. And he gave the example of a bathroom that somebody may have put in. And he says if he goes into the bathroom and he flushes the toilet and he doesn't hear a sound coming out of the sink, and he goes outside and he sees a pipe up top, and he used the proper term, I don't know what he said, but, you know, a vent up top, he knows, like, you know, there's going to be nothing wrong. He's more than likely going to pass that. But if he goes into that bathroom, he flushes the toilet, and there's a gurgling sound in the sink, and he goes outside and he doesn't see a vent, well, there's a problem. Now he's going to have to take a look behind the wall, because there's obviously a problem with that gurgling when he's flushing the toilet coming out of the sink. So he's prepared to look at work that was already done, and all the inspectors are, in order to get that process, you know, make it easier on people. And it's, you're not going to have to rip open your wall in every circumstance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Meiser.
No fruit.
No oranges this evening. Good evening, Frank Meiser, 61 Topsail. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to work backwards to help that gentleman out.
Okay.
If the town had a permit closure fee, which most towns have, your attorney, your closing attorney would come to the township and do a document called the permit closure fee. They would research past history on that lot and block or that house to see if there were any permits open, and if those permits were open, were they closed? And if they weren't closed, the building department would take the opportunity to go and do non-destructive testing to find out whether that work was done properly. And currently, when the building department now does that, because you usually see it upon a closing, you know every Friday there's going to be a closing and somebody's panicking because the work in their house was done without a permit. They come into the building department in a panic. We're going to hold up their closing. We go out, issue a permit, and do the inspections. So again, Mr. Newman will contact him and you'll get squared away. All right, now for what I wanted to talk about is under NJAC 523, it's the Uniform Construction Code. And it was called the Uniform Construction Code, so you go from town to town and things are uniform. That's why we have a blue book, and the blue book is the Bible. Well, Mr. Fosman and I have spoken at length, and I promised I wasn't going to hammer him here tonight. But I did find a few things that aren't uniform in this new ordinance. There are 3 different basic fees. Plumbing and electric have the same minimum fee. Fire has a different minimum fee, and building has a different minimum fee. Most towns, the minimum fee is the same. It makes it a lot easier on the clerks. It makes it a lot easier on paperwork. You're coming in, why is a plumbing permit cheaper than a building permit? That's the basic fee. Next thing is, when you build a house or a Costco or a movie theater, your permit is based on volume computation. The more volume you have, the more expensive your permit's going to be. Well, in our new ordinance, the people that have businesses, mercantile, and all residential are paying 0.4 cents per cubic feet. Assembly uses, like the movie theater, factories, if we're so unlucky to have a factory in town, storage and which is sheds and storage facilities, they pay 0.3 cents per cubic feet. It's just backwards. Commercial should be paying more. In most towns, commercial is more. Here, you're charging the homeowner on a residential home more per cubic feet than you are to build a Lowe's or a Costco. Case in point, the Costco in Marlboro, where I'm working now presently, their permit was $27,000 more than the permit here in Brick. I'm going to address UCC fees, and then I'm going to address other fees. The town has never gone to a rider account for the building department. And rider account, I've talked to Scott Pizarros a number of times about this. The rider account is the money generated by the building department stays in the building department to offset their costs. And costs in the building department are salaries and expenses, and that's part of what comes in the annual report. And we shall see how this new fee ordinance works out in 2015. Because after 2014, we'll be able to get an annual report, and you'll be able to see the income versus expenses, and we'll know how we're doing. Now on to things that aren't UCC permits, that other towns are. Oh wait, one more. The electrical updates in this new fees ordinance, there's a number of different electrical fees. One of them is there's an annual fee for commercial pools, and it should also state spas in that ordinance, because under the UCC, it's commercial pools and spas. We have a number of those in town. But yet, under plumbing, we have no annual fee for backflow preventers. Backflow preventers are bundled under special devices. It just seems odd to me. All right, certificate of occupancies. There should be a different fee for residential or commercial to make it easier on the resident doing work at his house or building a new house. On to other items that are not UCC fees. Most towns charge for a change of contractor. When you have a change in your contractor, let's just say that we're going to build another Lowe's or Home Depot in town, and there's a change of contractor. Most towns charge a fee for that. We don't. There should be a minimum fee for updates. Most towns charge a minimum fee for updates. We don't. There should be a permit closure fee, and that's what I opened up with here today. It makes it a lot easier on somebody coming into town to buy an apartment, a house, or a rental unit, or even a commercial structure, to see if there were permits taken out for the work done and were they closed. Other items, and all these items aren't under UCC, so that cash stays directly here in our department. But we ought to increase the rental CO inspection fees. Right now, they're only $50. It's a cost of doing business. That should be changed. There should be a fine for renting without COs. And we all ought to think about the mercantile license, which we talked about years ago, and nothing's ever happened. But that's it. We reviewed it, and like I said, it wasn't going to hammer you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Foster. Mr. Reed, I'm sorry. Mr. Reed?
Thank you, Council President. On the building codes, I agree with the prior comments. I don't know why the cubic footage should be more for residential than commercial. To me, that makes no sense. And philosophically, I don't know why there's this push to break even in the building department. The total budget for the town is in excess of $60 million. You have a lot of departments that aren't at a break even, public works, recreation. So I don't know why there's this push to break even in the building department. It's a service like every other service in town. People want to get a permit so they can increase their rateable, build a new house. Is this a bad thing in the town? It's a good thing. We need more ratables. So I'm not sure why there's this philosophical need to break even in the building department.
Mr. Starkey, is there a legal explanation? I know we can't make money, but are required to break even?
By law, the DCA wants you to break even, and the philosophy behind it is that a building permit is someone building their home. Many people would expect them to pay the cost and the fees for doing that, rather than having that building subsidized by the other taxpayers, which is what happens when your building department does not break even. The other taxpayers are subsidizing what a single property owner is doing. So I agree there could be a philosophical debate, but legally, the township is required by the DCA to try to get a building department to break even.
Okay, relating to that is the recreation department. I spoke to you last year, the council, not necessarily all you same folks, that we have a $16 million marina after grants, and I would like to see a separate line item in the budget showing what the revenue is for that marina. I don't know if we have that yet or
Does
not.
this have anything to do with the construction codes?
No, but it is philosophical. Why would we be breaking even in some departments and not others? I think Mr. Starkey answered that.
Mr. Reed, I do welcome you to bring that up into public
Okay,
comment.
I will. I'm sorry.
We can have
Thank you.
a definite discussion
you.
about that in just a short time here. Thank you. Mr. Foster, about the fees? Okay.
This is what I get for saying hello to Dominic Brando, so I apologize, I got distracted. Anyway, Sam Foster, 108 Chico Drive. On the fee thing, I was getting a little bit confused, I was making notes, so I had a lot of work done in my house a while ago. Kitchen, bathroom. Now, I have a question about this. Mayor Ducey, you said there's some kind of there's an amnesty. It's going to be in June. What is the start dates and when it begins, actually?
June 1st to June 30th. It's
June.
June 1st to June 30th. And the amnesty program is for people to come in and get a permit and pay for the permit, but not have to pay for the penalties that go along with it if you get caught
Okay,
red-handed doing the work or having the work done without a permit.
Yeah, because I, at the time when I had this work done on, I asked during a council meeting, how do I know if it's me that has the responsibility of knowing if a permit is needed or not, or the construction company did the actual work? And I was,
Well, you know, it's free to call our construction
that's another question I was gonna
official
ask you.
here. So if you ever have questions like that, feel free to call Town Hall and ask.
How to determine if a permit was needed and how to determine if a permit was actually issued, because the construction company, the companies that did the work on my house,
Mhm.
they said everything was included in the fee they charged me. I'm gonna have to find the contracts to see, because I just can't remember. But if I call the building department, they'll be able to tell me if a permit was issued for all
Yes.
work.
And I believe our attorney would like to address
Yes, I
this.
just want to say that the owner of the property is always ultimately responsible to ensure that all permits and fees are paid. You can do that through a licensed contractor, and the licensed contractor can do that for you, but if it's not done, it is ultimately the responsibility of the property owner.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, because I did have a question about that. All right, that's about the fees. The other question I had is related to the building department, but I'm not sure if it applies to the permit. From what was said, the building department is required to break even or be as close to breaking even.
We can discuss that. This is primarily about the fees, so let's
Public
discuss
comments?
that in public
Okay.
comments.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's okay.
Sorry for the confusion. Thank you.
Not a problem. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard about the construction fees? Okay, seeing none, I will close public and ask for roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Moving on to our last ordinance on second reading, amend Chapter 445, trailers. An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to amend Chapter 445 entitled Trailers, Section 445-8, to permit temporary storage trailers permits for up to 6 months. Thank you. We had instances, not many, but a few, where people were being cited for having personal storage trailers, primarily Sandy-affected people, on their lot for too long of a period of time. And what this is doing is allowing the construction official at their discretion to have the trailer on their property for up to 2 years, and it would be visited every few months to make sure that, work is being done, the property's not abandoned, so on and so forth. So this is just allowing people to have their storage trailers on their property longer, and it's primarily due to weather-affected homes, as in case of the event of Hurricane Sandy. At this time, I would like a motion and second, please.
Make a motion?
Second. Motion made by Council Vice President Bosman, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung, and open to the public. Yes, Mr. Foster.
And this is public comments, correct?
Nope.
Oh. oops.
Ordinance on second reading for trailers.
I'm sorry, I'm not with it
I
tonight.
promise I will call you first for public comments. Any other member from the public wish to be heard? Yes, Mr. Scott.
Reading the title and what you said, these are storage trailers, but I'm a little confused. When you read F, it says that the building official could let a trailer be put on the lot to be occupied.
Do you have, you do have it in front of you. If you go to H, that is the part that we added for this specific purpose.
What did you add?
H,
Second page.
Okay.
on the second page, right in the middle of the
Okay,
page.
H is where you can extend the storage trailer from 6 months to another 6 months to a total of 2 years.
For up to 2 years, yes.
Okay. I'm talking about, according to this, it says the construction official will let a trailer be occupied by people that have lived there before. I don't get that. Did you read F?
Well,
Page
F is
one?
different than H.
F
We aren't addressing F, we're addressing H because that's what we're adding. But yes, we can address F
Scott, F
for
is
you.
not, F is only having very minor changes in this ordinance. The italicized portion, I believe are the only changes being implemented, which inserts.
Kevin, the way I understood it before, you couldn't just take a trailer and put it on a lot, because there were people on the block next to me that lost a house from Sandy. They wanted to put a trailer on there. They were told that they could not
Oh,
put a trailer on
but this isn't a
there.
residential trailer, this is something like a pod or a storage
And I have no problem
facility.
with that. What did come to my attention, that all of a sudden, reading this whole thing, that it says you can now put trailers to live on property.
That is,
That's been in there,
that is in
hasn't
the
changed.
township code as it currently exists. That is not being changed
Okay.
in this ordinance.
So that is on the books, that you could do that?
Yeah, if you have, I don't know if you have the one I have F, where it has, or their designee is in italics, under F.
Right.
That's the only part of F that's being changed. So the current township code authorizes the construction official to allow the placement of a temporary trailer on a residential site and for people to occupy it. That has been on the
So that-
books
that
since
has been.
1992.
I wonder why these people were rejected, that they couldn't do that then.
It is within the discretion of construction official. I don't know why in that instance they were. You'd have to check with them.
Okay. I will.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public about the trailers ordinance on second reading? Okay, seeing none, I will ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Number 7, public comments. Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B. Mr. Foster, come on down.
I feel like I'm on The Price is Right. I don't know if that show's still on the TV or not anymore. Anyway, Sam Foster, 108 Chico Drive. Question I had about the building department, again, this is an issue that, I had other things, but I'm just gonna talk about this because this is important to me, because I had a lot of work done on my house, so you might be making a lot of money for me. On the website, is there, now, the question I had about, Mr. Starkey started to answer me. The regulations are that the building department cannot make a profit or loss. It's supposed to run as close to break even as possible.
That's the guidelines of the DCA, that's correct.
Okay, now, the question, I don't understand, well, is this my question is, I'll just flat out ask my question, because I'm starting to get a little garbled mind. You can already tell how I'm thinking tonight, so. If permit applications are put online to cut down from people coming in here to interact with people in the offices here, would that save on the budget, the money appropriated to the budget of the department, or
Well, in my opinion, those people are gonna be there anyway, but would our business administrator like to
from the
weigh in?
standpoint of break even?
What we have found in practice, we are going to be putting several documents online. We are going to be implementing a seamless doc software system, and mostly it'll start in our clerk's office and HR for job applications. So, yeah, we very strongly believe in having as many forms online as possible to help our residents not having to come to town hall. Permits, discussion on permits is very different. It takes some guidance. A lot of times contractors might have that knowledge because they do this so often for so many different towns, but residents not so much. In fact, when they come in, they see a receptionist outside of land use, and I often overhear them say, I need to talk to the zoning official, and then when it layers down to why they're here, it's not a zoning question at all. So for permits, I would not think that that would be an ideal process to have online. I think the interaction with a township official to guide them through the process, save them money on any outside professional they need, save them time, save them aggravation. It's well worth it to have our point people downstairs to help guide them through the process.
Okay, thank you. I do know from a few times, when I came here on Saturday at work, came in to check, and Mr. Newman runs a great department. He actually came out, his employees were unsure of something, so that's a great department down there. You do really have great people down there. But that puts, that's pretty much all I wanted to ask. I apologize to everybody here about me coming up here at the wrong time, but
It's not
I'm
a
having one of those
problem.
nights, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brando?
Hello, Dominic Brando, 12 Commodore Drive. I just want to commend the mayor and the council. Did a good job on that with that commissioner at the MUA. You got on that right away and did the right thing. Sometimes, you know, the right thing goes a long way. And, you know, I don't have a daughter, but I know if I had a daughter and someone spoke to her that way or someone spoke to my wife that way, I wouldn't be too happy. I would have been talking to that person in the parking lot down at the county. That's a whole other story. But the real reason I'm here is tomorrow night with the Board of Adjustment, there's a big issue in town over by Stop and Shop. And I know sometimes it's, you know, you're up there, I sat there, you try to save as much money as you can. But there's certain times when possible lawsuits are a good thing here because it's something that I think the town doesn't need because there's a couple other properties that may follow if that does go through as the owners propose in there. When they bought the property, it was originally age restricted. Then they went to court and got the age restricted dropped. Now they want to change the whole thing over again. It's a quality of life issue, and I'm not singling anybody out, but just going by statistics, and they're very easy to find statistics. You could Google them, go online and find them. So I'd like for you guys, you know, try to take a stand here. I know you don't have any say with it. None of you, none of the council or anybody from administration sit on that board or anything, but sometimes it's worth to put up a fight on certain issues for the quality of life of the people. And I know there's a lot of very upset people. I've been in that area, talked to a lot of people, and it's on both sides of Brick Boulevard, and it's the schools. We have a board member here, he could tell you what an influx of 150 families would do to the school system. So hopefully you get behind that also and, you know, have a good bipartisan thing for the whole town here where make it a quality of life issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members from the public? Yes, Mr. Slunka?
John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court, Evergreen Woods. This is my letter and other comments. Dear Mayor Ducey, Council President Susan Lydecker, and all the members of the Brick Township Council, it's now been over 20 months since the Turnpike Authority began to create the great hardship on all the people of Brick while upsetting the normal way of living of many Brick residents. The authority has caused many physical and emotional harm to many with impunity in an almost braggadocio manner. They say and do what they want to the citizenry. The authority has sanctioned the removal of tens of thousands of trees within Brick Township's borders and has almost mockingly given the township a few $100,000 to replant some trees in out-of-the-way areas. Brick Township's government fought hard to alleviate some of the distress that the authority has caused many of the Brick residents, and in particular the residents of Evergreen Woods. The mayor and council continue to support the cause and stand behind their right to live healthy lives. Brick Township's government has allocated some of those meager authority funds to the Evergreen Woods area and has surveyed the area to see what can be done. A few months ago, the mayor, some council members, and some local officials have walked through the area to see the situation for themselves. 20 months have passed since the authority started destroying the lives of these residents. So it's really time to get the planting done now. At this point, many of the residents are anxious to see the plans for the new forestation and are wondering when the initial planting will begin. We are all sure that nothing happens in an instant, and we are fully aware that the planting stage to actual planting to growth of the plant life will take time. Since there's an absolute need for some relief for these residents of finalization and release of the plans will at least give them hope for some solace. This, of course, will only be the beginning and not the end. We all realize that tens of thousands of destroyed trees and brush will never come back, and the authorities permanently destroyed the landscape, but we will keep fighting for justice. Since the hundreds of acres of plant and animal life will never be able to be recreated, much more vegetation to the woodlands is necessary, and a wall blocking fumes and noise must be placed in areas to restore the devastated environment. Recently, an NJTV reporter came to Evergreen Woods and broadcast the damage that has befallen the Garden State Parkway to many people who watched the Mike Snyder program. I heard from people who were shocked that this was allowed to occur, but in reality, big government agencies pretty much do as they please. With continued support from Brick government and hopefully continued attention from news media, we the people will overcome. A government agency too large and non-responsive to the people must be corralled and made to realize that destroying the environment and people's lives will not go unnoticed by the people of the state and the country. In time, the citizens will overcome the tyranny of the authority. So much for my letter, but I left some time for myself. Okay. So the parkway destruction has destroyed these trees for supposedly safety reasons. Too many accidents are being caused by trees, I guess, or maybe a wall. Almost seems reasonable until you think how involved people entering the parkway and trying to get up to the 80 miles plus an hour that everyone travels on the parkway, and the Turnpike Authority allows it and does not do anything about it. It never considers the cars slowing to the 45-mile-an-hour exits on the parkway, and the other cars still traveling at 80 to 90 miles an hour, running up on them. Yes, the trees caused the accident, according to the Turnpike, but obviously the trees aren't the movers, it's the people in the cars. So it's not the, is it the accidents? Not the people returning from from Atlantic City, heading to North Jersey and New York City after drinking and gambling in Atlantic City till 3 a.m. Not those drivers falling asleep and staying up gambling till 4 a.m. and rushing back to North Jersey. The Turnpike Authority will add 12 feet on both sides of the parkway for recovery of sleeping and drunk drivers, but not correct the problems of the drivers on cell phones, drunk and sleeping drivers all night hours. It is killing residents of this area. Need an example? Read the patch from the past week. Fatal parkway traffic accident Brick, north of Toms River, roadway blocked. We get almost every week one of those things. Obviously, the trees aren't there and the accidents are still happening. It's the way they handled the parkway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, may I?
Yes.
John, I'll go away. I have an idea. I was maybe a solution. I think the administration and the council will back you. I haven't had this problem going. I see Michelle's out in the audience too. I've been calling, making phone calls. I've been just bouncing around. You're gonna like this. They said, well, I've been talking to a couple of people down at administration, that Parkway Authority and stuff, and I've been bouncing around off of people when they come up with an idea. Why don't we, as a town, or as we put a letter together, they would rather, this is what I was quoted, they would rather build a berm than a wall. Now, a berm would be a mound of dirt, 15 to 20 feet high, and then we could take our plantation and plant it on top of that. There's your wall, a lot higher than our wall would be, 14 to 15 feet high. We can build, they said, the dirt's cheap. Dirt's cheap, that's what I was told. You can build, they could put a wall of dirt right down that whole area. Grass it, seed it. Now you have grass, and then we have vegetation that we have. They could see that going that direction, then we keep pressing for a wall. Now, I'll be more than happy to sign anything, put something in writing. Maybe we can sit down with administration, they can put something, I know council would do anything to help you out. That's what I was told. So if they're willing to put maybe a berm in there, then that problem would be solved. Now, that would take up your fumes.
That's one of the things we asked for about 18 months ago. Never got a letter back.
Okay.
About
Right.
8 months after that, we wrote another letter, pretty much saying, but the berm can't be 6 foot, like the one they put in the back with the dead trees for that 100-foot area. It has to be big enough to alleviate some of the sound and the pollution. And trees are better than the wall, no doubt about it.
Right.
But without a berm, it doesn't get high enough. And they
Problem.
ignored us, basically.
Well, that's what they said.
The
Well,
main
they-
problem, there's not enough land to build a berm high
They
enough.
pretty much ignored us. They said they want so many feet.
They'd have to
That's,
eliminate a lot
sloped
more
down.
trees to put this berm in,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't, dirt
It
just
doesn't go straight
stand
up.
Right, well, you're right.
It's
You got a
gotta go
mound.
sloped off
But
quite
it
a
is
bit.
there's quite a few feet between the parkway where it is now, remember, they're not moving any closer according to them, and where the fence is that meets Evergreen Woods, so there is quite a bit of land, but you're right, they would have to probably knock something down to make something high enough to help the residents. Otherwise, again, and unless they put trees in there that are like the evergreens or something like that, that's going to take some of that Garden State pollution. And you could tell, because you can go by their bus stops for the kids, and you can wipe your hand on like the street sign, and you could see it. It's diesel fuel. And the kids standing in the bus stops, smelling that and choking on that, and eventually dying on that eventually.
Council President, may I? may
I would
make
be
a
happy
comment?
for that, if they
Um,
could figure out a way.
Thank you. Mayor Ducey and I met with a couple of residents from Evergreen Woods a few weeks ago, and we drafted a letter. We looked at some past correspondence and drafted a letter where we requested that they identify a mitigation approach. Because we're not engineers, we're not traffic people, we're not the experts, but what our letter said was, what's out there now is unacceptable. The conditions are completely unacceptable. A lot of dynamics have changed since you first said no to a mitigation approach. So we're not going to tell you how to get there. We're just going to tell you need to get there. You need to identify a mitigation strategy, and it can include a couple of different techniques, but you need to identify something, and you need to do that right away. Michelle was kind enough to give us copies of the noise study that the county completed. We included that in the correspondence, and it was very strongly written letter from the mayor saying, come and identify something. Get your experts out here, tell us what it is you're going to do, and do it immediately. So rather than tell them what to do, we're going to tell them to tell us what they plan on doing. Because doing nothing, the option of doing nothing is unacceptable, and that letter made that very clear. So we will continue to follow up and get a response.
Thank you. I've been saying to council, as you all know, I've been saying, been behind this the whole time, but we just can't let them wait 4 months, 5 months, 8 months continuously. So again, a letter like that, notice like that, people meeting with them, all help. Something's got to get done. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Moore. Yes, ma'am, the woman in the purple shirt?
Christine Kohler. I live at 101 C Street, corner of Brick and Old C and Old Hooper. I'd like to readdress what Mr. Brando was speaking about, which was the building that is looking to be built across the street from us. I've been living there 10 years. I moved from the city to get away from that kind of congestion and chaos, and I feel that for 10 years, we've been bounced around in this room. Our voices, I feel like, are not even heard. I don't think it's right. We're taxpayers. We've been living here. We take good care of our property, and this building is gonna cause nothing but congestion and more chaos. Old Hooper in 10 years has gotten so congested, and they told us in the last meeting that we were here, no traffic, there'll be no changes in congestion. There'll be no mandate on how many people will be in these apartments. There'll be 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, 146 units, but there's no saying how many people will be in each one of those units. They are gonna overcrowd our schools. I just feel that nobody is standing by the people that live here. It was approved as a 55 and older. We're willing to accept that. Now, everything is looking to change once again because they keep selling the property over and over. I just wish someone would stand up for the people that live here, already live here, not these lawyers and the people that come in here with, you know, the big shots, the people that live in Brick Township, to pay their taxes, hardworking people. We need someone to stand by us. That's
Thank
all I
you.
have to say.
Mr. Starkey, I do want to touch on one point. Is that possible that they can't mandate? I thought by CO there was only a certain amount of people allowed in a residence.
That is correct. Whether it's a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, there are a maximum number of people that can occupy those
Right, but when we
residences.
addressed it at the meeting, we asked how they were going to keep track of that. How would they know in a 1-bedroom how many people were actually living in those units? They said they couldn't give us an answer to that, how they would keep track of that. They couldn't give us an answer on the square footage per unit, how many people were allowed to live in each one. They really didn't have those answers. All they could tell us is that it would not bring our property values down, that is such a load of, I'll keep it nice, but come on. I mean, they want to open up C Street. I live on the corner. The side of my house faces Old Hooper. The traffic that has increased on that road in the last 10 years, now they want to put a building, open up the driveway. It's dangerous. I could just tell you my whole neighborhood is looking to get out if this is gone through. Our values already have gone down. It's not going to get any better. I mean, you know, 55 and older, we have a lot of them around here. That's something we're all willing to accept, but this is just unacceptable, and I just hope people stand by us and help us through this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Council President,
Yes.
if I could just address that briefly, because first of all, there is a hearing before the zoning board tomorrow night, and they are really in place. It's a separate board, and they are in place to hear concerns like traffic and congestion and to address them, and your voice can and is entitled to be heard at that hearing. What I want to stress is something else, because there have been some calls coming in today to the administration. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what this development is and about this hearing tomorrow night before the zoning board. And there are terms being thrown around like Section 8 affordable housing, that the township's going to approve this as an affordable housing development. And I just wanted to get out to clarify and correct that misinformation. This is not an affordable housing site that's being built. I know that because affordable housing sites come in and they get deed restricted as affordable housing sites. Now, every development in town, every development has an obligation under state law, and agree with it or not, it's the law to build as a portion, a percentage of that, portion of that will be affordable housing. So in a 120 residential unit apartment, a portion of it would be residential housing unless that developer agrees to pay an amount into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of the township. They are then relieved of that obligation to put affordable housing in there. This developer is paying that money into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of the township, which the township then uses to comply with its obligations under state law by building affordable housing in other locations or putting into developmentally disabled centers. But the important part about this development is that this developer is choosing not to put affordable housing onto that site, but instead to pay it to be relieved of that obligation. As far as the Section 8, that is a separate type of housing, and what that is, it's under federal law. the developer receives a portion guaranteed rent for low-income people that would reside in those buildings. Now, the testimony before the zoning board I've heard has been that the developer intends to build this as a residential rental development, and the developer intends to continue to own it and rent out those units. The developer is putting a fair amount of money into building this, into putting in what I've heard described as upscale apartments. It is not in the developer's interest to have Section 8 housing in there, because what a developer that builds a development like this wants is market rate rent. It's the only way that that business makes sense. So the misinformation floating around of what this is just wrong. This is not affordable housing. It's not a Section 8. And I think where this came from is, I understand from the zoning board meeting that was held, I think, last year, that a solution that was proposed, which I think is unfortunately incorporated into a resolution that was approved, was to prohibit Section 8 and affordable housing in that development. And the developer said, if you want to put it in, I don't care, because I'm not going to build that. And that provision, saying no affordable housing or Section 8, went into the resolution. The problem with that is you cannot have a provision like that in a resolution. And I received a call, the zoning board attorney received a call from the Fair Share Housing Center, which is a state watchdog that keeps an eye on this, and said, we are going to sue the township and the zoning board because that provision is in there, because it's illegal to have it. And we made a decision, and Mr. Brando said, you know, sometimes you have to fight the battle, and I agree with that. And I know this mayor and council don't hesitate to fight a battle when it's about standing up for the quality of life of the township residents. But you don't fight battles when there is no battle, and you don't fight battles that's simply going to cost the township money to get to the same end. That provision's illegal, and it would be stricken by a court, but it doesn't get you anywhere, because this developer has already made the decision and has taken actions to indicate that this will not be an affordable housing site and will not be Section 8. So fighting a battle that you're going to lose just to show you're standing up for the quality of residents simply does not make any sense. So I wanted to, because of these calls that are coming in, I wanted to correct that misinformation and say that it's simply wrong to call it that. If anyone has any questions about that, concerns, specifics about this development, I'd encourage you to go tomorrow night in this room to the zoning board hearing, where there's going to be hearing, the developer's going to be there, the zoning board attorney, zoning board members are going to be there, and you can raise the questions, certainly the ones about traffic and congestion. If you want to ask that, you can, and they can be addressed at that level. This mayor and council, unfortunately, does not have the jurisdiction over issues like those.
Thank you, Mr. Starkey, for setting the record straight and getting the facts out there. I hope that eases a lot of our residents' concerns with this project. Ms. Spector?
Good evening, everyone. First thing I wanted to do is thank you so much for this letter. It actually precedes a tentative meeting with the Turnpike Authority, new executive director, with Frank Sarantino. I'm not killing his name, Sarantino. The Ocean County engineer and our property manager and attorney. So, am I to understand that you actually, it was discussed with the Turnpike Authority about the berm? Is that?
Yeah, I was actually just talking to some
And they were open
side of the
to
road,
it, because
chit-chat with
before
some
they kind
guys
of like
and-
poo-pooed it before, they don't have the clearing for it.
Well, no, these are just the regular workers, and then, I wanted to make, supervisors came aboard, and I was just chit-chatting, it was just small talk. And they said, well, you're probably better off doing a berm than doing a wall.
Yeah, because we didn't
Makes
care as
sense.
long, but if it's done on their side, then if it's at least 12, 15 feet, it would definitely cover us. You know,
Correct.
the noise,
And that's why I
noise-wise.
said, my thing was, dirt's cheaper than a wall. And
Yeah, and it
they're correct.
absorbs, I
and,
mean, we don't really care, because, I mean, if we're getting.
Right, and I told them I'd like to have something done, and
Yeah.
that was the small
I mean,
talk was, you'd probably get somewhere if you put up a dirt wall than a regular wall.
Yeah, and then landscaped it, and then
Correct.
we had trees or whatever.
Because if you go
on
up and down
side
the
there.
parkway, you'll see there's berms up and down, all the way, whether
Yeah,
the
so
north
I don't
side,
see
south
why
side,
they
you'll
were-
see berms, and you'll see,
Yes.
high plateaus, they call them, with grass, and if the
Yeah.
grass is, they're
Yeah, so
putting
they
new
can get their
plants on 'em.
engineers, the landscape engineers, sound engineers to get it
I
to
would-
work in our area.
I would stay on that, I would stay more focused on that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of dirt out there.
Yeah, there's a lot,
I think that would be more of, and it'd be higher. But something that I'm sure they're gonna have to address, but I think we have a better leg to stand on if we go that direction than this, and, you know, we'll be satisfied with just a nice berm with grass seed, and then we can put our plants on top of that,
Yeah.
or our vegetation.
And so that brings me to my next question. We had an association meeting in our development, and they said that apparently there was some kind of problem with the forestry department. They don't want to pay for the maintenance of the trees, and according to the No Net Loss Act, you have they take care of the trees for 2 years, I guess, to ensure their survival. So I don't know why this is a problem.
Oh.
Bless you.
So.
Thank you.
I don't know if we can find anything out about that, or.
So is your specific question who takes care of the trees that we'll be
Well,
planting with the grant for 2 years?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's actually part of the price of each tree, according to the No Net Loss Act, is that it's supposed to pay for the price is built into the care of the trees for 2 years to ensure the survival of the trees. And the forestry is saying they don't want to pay for the maintenance of the trees, but it's supposed to be built into the no net loss.
Mhm.
So I don't understand why there's a problem with it. Have you?
Ms. Bergen?
Yeah, we have been working with the DEP, because what we need to have clarified from them is the no net loss grant requires us to have an easement to plant the trees that
But we gave I think an easement was already given.
No, an easement is not something that the township can enter into for this tree planting. We can't own property along the side of the parkway that, via an easement that we have to take care of in perpetuity. That's not something that we can agree to. We agree to plant the trees if the DEP says we can have an access agreement in place where we go in, we plant the trees, we give you that buffer, and, then generally we move on from there.
So you're saying because it's not on Parkway?
It's not
land?
property that the township wants to own in perpetuity. The easement makes it our property, and we are not in the position to own property along the parkway that we then have to maintain forever. So we will do
Well, it
this.
would just
let
be-
me
it would just
let me
be-
finish my
okay, yeah,
sentence,
sure,
thanks.
okay.
We will look to do this no net loss grant, assuming the DEP grants us the access agreement, which gives us the right to go in, to do the plantings, and then to move on our way. So we have to cross that hurdle first before we talk about maintaining the trees for any period of time.
So you're saying that you actually have to get an easement from?
We have to get the DEP to waive the easement requirement of the grant and allow for an access agreement. We've asked several times in writing. The mayor had a positive exchange. He met with somebody in person after we weren't getting responses, who said, yes, we would agree to the access agreement, but has not put that in writing. And the no net loss grant requires us to get that in writing. Division of Forestry requires that.
So you have to get that in writing from the DEP, the access?
That they will approve the access agreement.
And they're still dragging their heels on it pretty much?
We haven't gotten it yet, and until we get it, we can't even begin to address maintenance of trees.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Hi, Tracy Daytree, 111 C Street. I just had a statement. I think the reason why we came here tonight to say this, we will be at the meeting tomorrow night, and Christine and I have been at all of the other board meetings. We wanted to come here so you, Mr. Mayor, could hear the voice of your residents, to know that we love our houses, we love our street, we love our community, we love our town. I'm PTA president at my son's elementary school. I love this town. And for you, Mr. Starkey, the last meeting.
I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt you, but we're having a difficult time hearing. Could you speak a
Sure,
little?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
The last meeting, it was the attorney of the land owner, I guess, Mr. Jackson, I believe his name is, who was actually the one who had stated that because we residents had our biggest fear is crime. We know crime is going up. We know drugs are running rampant through our county right now. Emma Havens Young, that's where I'm PTA president. I actually have a Michael DeLeon coming to speak to our 5th graders June 3rd about the whole drug scene within the county. It was actually Mr. Jackson who was the one who initiated the paying the township for the Section 8 and the affordable housing. We just wanted to put a face to our names and our voices for you, Mr. Mayor, so you know how passionate we are about this. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir, in the gray shirt.
That's a holder, right? Good evening, council, mayor. My name's Rich Russo, 606 Windcrest Court. We're no strangers, right? You know. Well, it's that time of year again. The stinky maple leaf dumpsters behind my house are overflowing. The lids are open and beginning to smell with the hot weather. Last year, I came here several times trying to get them moved. I spoke to you here. I filed papers with the court, which were thrown out. I dealt with Councilman Fosman, who, by the way, tried to help, and even went as far as to deodorize them on his own time, which I found incredible, and thank you. The best that could be done was having them moved up 10 feet to try to put some air, no pun intended, between the dumpsters and my unusable backyard. I told everyone that they needed to be moved to another location, which was tried, but I believe the management company gave a hard time over that. We did find several suitable locations, but it ended up that they, through the hard work of Councilman Vice President Fosman, he got them moved up. This did help the problem somewhat, but the odor was still present. Moving them forward did not solve the problem. Last year, I mentioned to the councilman that next year they'll just be forgotten about and moved back to their original location, and I'll be at square one all over again, which is why I'm here. I'm at square one. The dumpsters are back in their original location. For years, 12 to be exact, I've been calling the township, code enforcement, the police, the county, the Board of Health, and even the governor's office. After calling all of the above, I still have dumpsters behind my property and an unusable backyard. In fact, it got worse when the township took over the garbage pickup last year. Waste management would at least make 2 pickups a week. The township makes 1, and I have pictures of the dumpsters here just the other day where the doors are open and the garbage is almost to the top, and they're back in their original location like I predicted. I often wondered why the management company and the homeowners association were never summoned to this. And last week it came to me. While opening up my mail, I came across a letter from the township. It was a violation notice from Mr. John Jasinski of the Code Enforcement Department regarding a unregistered car in my driveway, which, by the way, was only there for 2 weeks. As I awaited classic car insurance and time off from my 2 jobs to go and register it, it remained covered in my driveway. It was rather comical to receive such a letter when for the past 12 years I've been asking code enforcement, actually pestering them, to take care of that mess behind my house. And never once were the 2 parties mentioned served with a notice of violation. But now I know why. The Township Code Enforcement Unit is more concerned with petty violations than quality of life violations and health issues. Anyway, I rectified that matter, and, you know, it was my fault. I took care of it. And the township is once again safe from unregistered vehicles in people's driveways. But I'd like to add that code enforcement had to pass several unregistered vehicles or derelict cars, which I drive past almost all the time, on their way to my house. In fact, right at the corner was a gold Oldsmobile, which was never issued a violation. No plates in the driveway. He also had to pass several commercial vehicles on my block that I have to stare at every day. But I don't complain about those things. Cemented basketball hoops along the curb, once again, I don't care. The kids could play. But these are all violations, and it doesn't bother me one bit. All of these things are not code, as they say, yet no violations will surf any of those. Being in law enforcement for 25 years, I have an eye for this stuff. Anyway, running around worrying about covered, unplated cars in a personal driveway, I can understand that. He'll have no time for dealing with quality of life violations, such as foul-smelling dumpsters that have been bothering them for 12 years. And that's why Maple Leaf has never been served. This type of selective enforcement is the work of cowards. That's the way I feel about it. And this is why I'm here tonight. If code enforcement wanted to better serve the community, they would enforce what is important instead of peeking under a car cover. I can't use my yard unless it's winter or unless I drive around the block with 4 gallons of Clorox in the trunk of my car. I will ask the council, would you want to live like this? Would you be angry? Would you be insulted that this town chooses not to do anything about it? I need this problem fixed. Summer's coming, and as we get closer, the smell gets worse. What do I do now? If it were you in this situation, what would you do? I mean, it's unlivable back there in the summertime.
Mr. Russo, can I address this? I spoke to your wife on the phone a couple weeks ago when the dumpsters, they said they put them back. I immediately called down to DPW. They said they were going to move them back. We discussed in our committee meeting for DPW, which I'm the chair of, that before your wife called, we already decided we're going to do 2 pickups there, and the truck will have a deodorizer in there to spray each time. And the dumpsters should never have been put back. I don't know who put them back, and they were supposed to have moved them out already. I made the phone call 2 weeks ago, and everything was supposed to be taken care of. You're saying they're still back in there?
I'm sorry, just 2 days ago, I took these pictures.
I'll contact the director again, and like for the summer, we're supposed to do 2 pickups, one before the weekend.
Yeah, that was.
And pull the lids down and to spray the deodorizer in each of the dumpsters over there. We're trying to prevent before the summer even started. And I'm sorry it didn't happen, but I will make a phone call tomorrow, again, to the director.
Yeah, well, like I said, last year I discussed human intervention, and that's the problem. I can't rely on that. It's like every year I'm going to have to come down and have somebody to move
Well,
the
it seems as
dumpsters.
though the
It's crazy.
councilman had the foresight 2 weeks ago to get the ball rolling on this, so hopefully
Can they
it'll-
put like a big berm between my house and over there?
Hopefully the actions
You know,
that
maybe
we
a
took in
wall
committee
or,
with-
or 1,000
with
trees,
the
something.
DPW director will mitigate your issue. I think it worked out somewhat well last year, so hopefully we can keep the ball
No,
rolling this year.
it wasn't as bad, but I shouldn't smell those dumpsters. I mean, I've shown the council, I know some of you are new, and congratulations on your appointment, Mayor, congratulations. And I believe your mother-in-law lives on my block, right? Right?
She did.
Yeah. Oh, she did?
Yeah,
Oh.
she's getting older. She had to move.
Oh,
She had to
okay.
move with my sister-in-law.
I was saying maybe I could use her yard.
Thank you for
But-
coming in, Mr. Russo, and I'm sure the councilman will be in touch with you in
I-
the
I
near
ha-
future.
I'll definitely find out if we can move them again.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
like I said, my wife and I are worn out. It's just, like I said, when you get a Friday or a Saturday and you have people over, I got to run around the yard sniffing my yard. It's crazy. And I've shown everybody pictures of my yard. It's like a resort,
Yes,
but
is.
it smells
I
like
was
it's
there.
built on top of a dump.
Beautiful yard, it is.
And yeah, you've been there.
Beautiful
Right?
yard.
And
Thank you for
it's
coming
been a
in,
pleasure
though.
having you there too. You can come by anytime.
I'll give you a call in a couple of days. Let me just. see
Yeah,
what I
just
can-
make sure it's a cool day when you show up.
Thank you, Mr. Russo,
Thank you very
for
much.
coming in. Ms. Call?
Yes, Nan Carl, or as I sometimes say, it's short Colleen. Short the "een," but that's about the last name. However, I'm short, period. I just want to touch on three things very quickly, if I can. The Kaboom, and making it a community affair. I've already had somebody who disagrees with me, but I think that's a great idea. And my life has been touched in a favorable way. I had an aunt that passed away the day after my first grandchild was born. She was almost 72, and she had Down syndrome, and she was like yay high. I'm tall compared to her, and she touched our lives in a wonderful way. And at the end, she was living in a nursing home, that there were a lot of dementia people, mostly women, and they called her their baby. And they all wanted to walk with her to go to meals and things. So she brought joy to so many people's lives. A first cousin that was oxygen deprived at birth and is developmentally disabled, but he has been out and working in a VA hospital in Brooklyn now for, I think, 35 years and does very well. He's technically illiterate, but he can travel anywhere and do wonderful things and knows how to speak up for himself. The other is in support of the Evergreen Woods people. And I'm so happy to hear that a very strong letter was sent by the mayor and administration. I'd like to see something even stronger done. I'd like that we, if necessary, the entire town, demand that the authority come and hold a town hall type meeting at which they listen to the residents, that they don't preach, and that they actually start mitigating, as you suggested, and explain to us how it's going to be mitigated, whatever their decision is. I think that's an excellent thought, putting it in their lap. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You tell us how you're going to do it. But I think it's time that we do everything we, the people, can to take control of it. I'd be in favor, and I would contact somebody at Governor Christie's office that I have contact with and ask if the governor would come and do this. He just might in these days want to. This is something that is not a shared thing in his power. This authority is under his domain. It's in our state. So I'd really like to see us demand that they come and speak to us. They should have, and they did it a long time before, 2006 or something. They told us what they were going to do. They changed everything and didn't follow up. It should have been finished by 2010. And the last thing that I want to touch on is, I don't know anything about that Stop and Shop, but I do know the property behind the post office near ShopRite. That originally was going to be a 55 and older. But before anything actually got done, and I see something is happening now, and I don't believe it's going to be 55 and older. I think it was changed. But there is, and probably Mr. Starkey knows this well, there was legislation enacted that if the developer can show that the market is no longer there for the 55 and older, and the developer can prove that the market isn't there, frankly, and whether we like it or not, and then they can have it without the age restricted. So that happens to be the law, unfortunately for some people. But
Thank you. The gentleman in blue.
Victor Fenimore, 137 Queen Anne Road, Bay Harbor Estates. I was just curious about this development from, it was supposed to be age restricted, and now we're going to 147 rentals. That's kind of like a bait and switch, because it seems to be time and time in Brick Township, we're going to put 55 and older, and suddenly the property sells out, it changes, and now we go to rental properties.
Ms. Cole was right. I don't know the history of this, but there was legislation passed several years ago that allowed developers to go to court to seek to change from age restricted to non-age restricted housing. I don't know if that's the case with this development. I haven't been with it.
Yeah, because just looking across the township in itself, it's like condo villages going up all over the area. And it is a safety and concern issue to the communities and the people in the area. But what is actually alarming, as someone else I mentioned earlier today, as Mr. Brando mentioned, if you go online and check the websites, and you can even look at Trula and really track as an example, in Brick Township alone, there's over 730 foreclosed homes or in the process of foreclosing. There's over 130 homes up for sale. So if there's a need for people to live, and the average market of the home is 184,000 in those foreclosures, what is the upscale rental going to be? That's what I'm curious.
I think, you're asking some detailed questions. This body here, this mayor and council, don't control.
I know,
what
it's
you're
just
asking about.
a voice, it's just opinion with people, because when I think upscale community, I think gated community, armed security, living in Union County and most of my life, North Jersey, rental, $2,500, $3,500 a month. People can't afford $1,400 a month in a mortgage. So what is considered upscale community? Because if you're gonna have rentals, which is great, it does help because someone's gonna pay for something, people need a place to live, especially with a possible 730 homes all pending foreclosure. Those residents of Bricktown that have been here for years are going to need a place to live. They're going to need somewhere to go. If they can't live here, who is? Because if this unit does get built, I could probably see in Bay Harbor Estates, easy 100 homes going up for sale. And then the letter streets, another couple hundred. And that would be a mass exodus. So it's just something of interest. Although, what about the wildlife? Someone said there was a pine snake in that area, so who approved that? Is that who?
We'd have to speak with the Board of Adjustments and the
That would be
Planning
tomorrow
Board.
night?
We don't, like Mr. Starkey said, we don't control any of this.
No, I understand, but it's just that.
We
if you
understand
start
all of the
looking at-
concerns, we understand what everybody is saying, but this council cannot affect anything with the Board of Adjustments and the Planning Board of what they
Concerns
do.
you have should be brought up tomorrow night.
Oh, it will be.
They
Tomorrow night will be, but it's
The
just.
Planning Board and the Board of Adjustments has less people than our council meetings, so if more
It is.
residents go to those meetings and express their concerns, I think they would be able to hear what our residents want and for our town, for the betterment of our town.
And that's what we're looking at, is the betterment of our community and the
Exactly.
township, because.
And that's what we're here
this
for,
like
is
the
to make
last
Brick
wing
better.
of Brick Township doesn't have a rental complex, especially 140 some odd people, or 300 some odd people.
Yes, and that
if
was
there's
done
families and there's gonna be
previous
busing and-
administrations, previous planning boards, previous Board of Adjustments.
Previous administration was for 55 and older.
And the states had the ruling and we weren't allowed to do it.
I was just curious on that, that's why. But it will be tomorrow night's meeting, we'll be there. All right, thank you.
7 o'clock this week. Thank you. Mr. Scott?
Mr. President?
Yes.
Thank you. Just to let you know, the one thing that the council does have control over, and hopefully I have a little bit of a say in being on the administration, but they're the redevelopment authorities, the Food Town site. Because the township owns that property. And as I've said before at many meetings, there's going to be no residential going into Food Town because I don't want to see any type of, overdevelopment, too many people, too many kids in our school and everything else. That's the one thing, we control the Food Town, and that's why there will not be residential while I'm sitting here, hopefully. But you guys are the redevelopment authority.
Mr. Scott?
George Scott, 16 Queen Anne Road. A couple of things. Number one, you're right, I wasn't at the last meeting, and I'm going to give a thank you to the business administrator because primarily, as you know, a lot of my questions are all about money and the budget, and I've got to say, she reached out, asked what my questions were, what my concerns were, took care of them, the ones that she didn't know. She called me back several hours later. No need for me to show up at that meeting, so I went and babysat for my granddaughter. You're kidding.
Oh, you're done.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott.
And I tried Same thing with the police chief. I called the police chief about overtime and had questions for him. Little did I know, he was on vacation in Florida. Called me back, same thing, addressed the issues. I really had no problem. So when you say contact, the director or construction official, I know when I call, they get back, and they're here for the convenience of the public, so people should utilize that. So I did want to say thank you very much. Second thing, amnesty was talked about a lot here. Just want to make sure with the mayor, as far as amnesty is concerned, this is just for residential, not for commercial, correct? And not if you got caught already.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Let's understand that. Don't come in the month of June and cry big tears. The third thing, and I'll, through you, ask our attorney, this 135 brick. I was involved with this 10, 11 years ago when it first came up. And it was, first of all, they wanted to put in almost 500 units there. It went from 8 buildings down, and it got pared down. But I kind of disagree with Kevin and as to what's going to happen tomorrow night, because on the agenda, this is just to remove the restrictive clause of the Section 8 that was erroneously put in there at the beginning. I don't think they're going to let you open up about traffic and the whole hearing. That's a done deal. I don't see that happening unless I'm wrong about that.
The lady who got up earlier said, I want to have my voice be heard. I know the zoning board is
We were
required
there.
to have a period of public comment, just as this body is by state law.
They did.
No. Every time the zoning board meets,
Right.
every time they have a meeting, there's a meeting tomorrow night, they're required to have public comment, to allow for public comment.
Even if that's not in the agenda?
A public body holding a public meeting must have a period of public comment, must. So
Okay.
they will tomorrow, and if they're taking action on an application, they're required to open it up for public comment. So I'm very, very confident now as to what they will address that's brought up in public comment. That I don't know, because I don't know what the issues are in front of that board, but I can guarantee you they'll have a public comment period.
There's going to be a public comment, but I just don't think they're going to reopen up the whole application as to, and the way that happened, one meeting they said, you know what, we finish at 11 or 12, I forgot what it was, and boom, they wanted to leave, that was what it was. The next time I was there with my wife, it was supposed to be 12 o'clock, I left, they went on till 1:30 in the morning. I mean, they changed the rules. I feel sorry for these people, because originally, when it was the original owner, and it went from him to Toll Brothers to an independent to the guy now, it went from condos at 400,000 that were really beautiful, and hopefully he's going to put up a good product. The $440,000 that he has to pay the township for the affordable housing, I wish we were getting that money now, but from what I understand from Tara Paxton, we don't get that until he actually puts a shovel in the ground.
Half. Don't get half.
Unfortunate. The other thing I wanted to bring up is Property Maintenance Board. This poor gentleman here about these smelly things and whatnot. People do want a quality of life in Brick. The mayor has this board. Asked me if I would be on the board. Absolutely. We haven't had a meeting in 3 months. It's a joke, a real joke. There's 260 problems of various neighborhoods that people, I know on my block, there are 2 empty houses. One's empty for over 5 years, had a fire in it already. The other one it's just deplorable. Brings down the values of people's houses. You got people that volunteer their time, and nothing happens as far as the administration is concerned. I think that's not good, and that's why you have people like this coming and complaining. The other thing is, I'm asking a question. MUA Commissioner, I don't know what's happening there. I got some phone calls. Are you looking for a?
Yes, the man, as we know, recently resigned, and we are taking resumes for that position. So if anyone is interested, please feel free to send their resume in to my attention, to our council secretary here at
Okay,
Town Hall.
I bring that up because I think, no matter what, I put politics aside. It should be somebody that knows a budget, knows money, fairness, nonpartisan, take that into account. We don't need the same old nonsense going on and on and on again. And basically, that covers the things that I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Look at that.
Just look at that.
Get that rehearsed.
Yes, Mr. Reed.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that point, as far as appointing somebody to the Municipal Utility Authority here in Brick, I think it is time, in my opinion, for an independent or unaffiliated person for that position rather than the same old partisan going back and forth. And here's some interesting statistics that I looked up on Wikipedia for Brick today. As of March 2011, it states there were 48,760 registered voters in Brick. Of those registered voters, 20% were Democrat, 25% were Republican, and 54% were unaffiliated. Now, there were 34 people that registered in some other party, it says. We don't know what those parties are. But I think if you really want to represent the people of Brick, it's time for you to appoint somebody that's unaffiliated, because obviously in the last 2 elections, the unaffiliated people came out and made a strong statement about what they thought should be going on about their taxes. And I think it's time for them to be represented when you make that appointment. Second point I want to make is it has to do with recycling. I know there's been a big push for recycling with the schools and throughout the town. I think it's a great idea. I've been a recycler since 1969. Took my bottles over to the glass plant in West Bergen, and they had a glass plant back there at that time. People thought I was crazy recycling my bottles at that time. But anyway, if you want to get more recyclables, the key on the Barrier Island is to get a pickup every week from the last week of June through Labor Day week, because one pickup every other week doesn't work. When those recyclable cans get filled up and they're not coming for another week, they just dump them in the regular garbage.
Mr. Reed, to address that, they are able to get a second recycling can, and we have the
No.
very, very large ones.
You could go to one pickup a month or every other month in the wintertime, because there's no recyclables out there. There's nobody out there in the wintertime. But if you want to increase your recycling revenue, that's what's needed, because, that's why people go to the Barrier Island in the summer times, party, have a good time, and there's a lot of recyclables to be picked up. And if you wanted to start the pilot project that I was recommending of having it on one side of the street so the trucks can just go make a quick run instead of going up and down every street, that would be a good place to try it. It would only amount to like 5 more pickups, because you get 10 weeks. Every other week is 5, so you'd only have to do 5 more pickups. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think you need to come up with some innovative ideas on how to increase revenue and reduce expenses.
One-sided pickup was discussed, and sometimes one resident doesn't want your garbage can in front of their house or their recycling can in front of their house, and you leaving it there all day. When you come home, that's what the problem was.
Well, give us a try, because I think we
All the
have a
residents would have
community
to
out
agree
there.
on one side of the street.
No, if you decide it's going to be picked up on a certain side, then that's your decision. You decide what day of the week it's going to be, so you say this is the side of the street it's going to be picked up on. We move cans around for our neighbors all the time over there, because after the weekend, most people aren't there. Their cans are out. We push it back in their driveway for them. So give it a try. It might work.
I believe we have Mayor can correct me, we have 2 times we're picking up out there in the summertime?
Garbage.
Garbage?
So, yeah,
Not
something I
recycled.
instituted was to have twice a week garbage over there for the summer, because of the amount of people that are there and the amount of, the activity that they're doing. It creates a lot of garbage.
Sure, it does.
Yep.
That's a good idea, but I think you ought to think about the twice.
Well, I'll bring it up at our next meeting.
Not twice a week, just once a week
Once a
on the
week.
recycling.
I understand. I'll bring it up to Mr. Campbell
Great.
on our committee.
Last thing I want to bring
I'll
up
give you a call.
in my allotted time is that the marina. I'd like to see a separate account. I think the residents deserve, to see the income and expenses on the marina. It's a $16 million project after the grants, and you may have another marina coming up on the other side where it's not doing well, and it's going to be proposed for some other kind of development. So it would be helpful for the residents to see what the income and expenses are on that great project.
We fully intend to do that.
Okay, great.
After a full season
Yes.
of it to be in operation where we could generate the revenue, have the actual revenue numbers. We can't do that till we've had a full summer. So we do
Okay.
intend to do that at the end of the summer.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening? I think we got everybody out there. I'm going to close public comments and move on to council comments.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, would you like to give your closing comments, please?
Sure, thank you. I just want to give an update for Route 35. Originally, we were told that the only construction that was going to continue throughout the summer out on Route 35 was in Brick. Every other town was going to be shut down. But the state did announce yesterday that they're stopping construction on Route 35 in Brick as well. They are going to continue on the side streets up and down Route 35, but all the way from Point Pleasant all the way down to Seaside Park, there will be no construction during the summer months for Route 35, which I think a lot of people were happy about. They were upset there was going to be down to one lane in Brick. We'll have both of our lanes open throughout the summer. Another thing over at the beach is the steel revetment project. There's a pre-construction meeting tomorrow. They finally awarded the bid yesterday. So there's finally a contractor in place. The court battle's over. So tomorrow there's a pre-construction meeting, and that's going to give us an idea of when the actual, when it's going to be starting, how long it's going to take, where it's going to be starting, which is important to people. People don't know if they're going to, they haven't told us. They're going to start at both ends. They're going to start in the middle. They're going to start at one end or the other. So we're going to be able to find all that out tomorrow. So next council meeting, I'll have an update for all that. The Historical Society, they had their annual dinner, and I swore in their trustees. That would happen on May 13th, and it was a great event, very well attended, and they have a lot of events going on this year. A couple trips, and a number of things over at Havens Homestead. So please check out their schedule. Friday is our next senior bingo and lunch. It's from 11:45 to 2 o'clock over at the Civic Plaza. You have to register with Recreation at 732-262-1073. Monday is Memorial Day, and it's our annual Memorial Day Parade. It starts at 10 o'clock a.m. along Chambers Bridge Road, and there's a ceremony that immediately follows the entire parade that happens right here in the parking lot of Town Hall, and it's a very touching event. We have many, many veterans that march, and a number of other organizations. And if you are going to march, we're meeting at the Food Town site at 9:30. The Relay for White Life weekend, Friday, May 30th, starts at 5 o'clock, and it goes all the way through the entire night through Saturday, May 31st at 6 a.m. It's going to be held this year over at Brick Township High School. So please come out and support the town, and make whatever donations you can, or walk yourself. Next, the residents, please register for our email alerts. You can send an email to municipalupdate@twp.brick.nj.us with the word subscribe in the subject line, and you will get an email blast letting you know what's going on around town. For example, today's email was the council agenda. Tomorrow's email will probably be maybe the Board of Adjustment agenda. And there's, recreation programs that are advertised down there, and it just keeps you alert. Click on it real quick in an email. You see, it's always one thing, maybe two things at the most, and delete it and move on. But at least you have all the dates right there in front of you. You can add it right to your Outlook calendar and move on. Then the amnesty, we spoke about it a lot tonight, but I just want to remind everybody, June 1st to June 30th, no fines, no penalties. Come on in, apply for your permit for whatever work was done. It doesn't matter if it was 14 years ago. It doesn't matter if it was a month and a half ago. But anybody in the past, if you were already fined, you had your fine and penalty. But this is an amnesty month, and please, as Mr. Scott said, people have been definitely fined in the past. Eventually, it'll catch up to you. So you might as well take advantage of the situation now. And if you can't come during the day, June 17th at 6 o'clock, we will be down the stairs in the building department until the last person leaves. So it starts at 6 o'clock, and it'll be right through, and it could be a very, very late night. But if you did work without getting a permit for a pool, a bathroom, a basement, electrical work, water heaters, furnaces, whatever the case may be, obviously you have a lot more work than that. If you're a Sandy resident, maybe you did some stuff. Come on in. We'll get everything safe. Make sure make sure your house is safe. Make sure your neighbors are safe. Our children are safe, and It's a free month. Come on in, June 1st to June 30th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I just wanted to thank Nan Cole for doing an excellent job once again. It was excellent.
Captain. Captain.
Absolutely.
Dan Cole.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody that 2 weeks from today, June 3rd, is the annual primary election. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. There are numerous polling place changes. Anyone who was voting in the schools prior will have a new polling place. Each voter is notified by mail. It will be also on your sample ballot, and I will have that posted on the township website tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councilman?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to thank Mercedes for coming out this evening. As a firefighter, she did a great job for calling in that massive fire, the brush fire we had on Jordan Road, and it was a very, very big fire. So great job on her behalf. To our high school our bowling team and the mock trial high school teams, keep up the good work. We're very proud of you. It's always a pleasure giving awards to some fine students. Tonight, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening, but also which is big on my list. I've been coaching over 10 years. I've been up here at the council for about 3 now. I'd like to put a big, big thank you to our director, Mr. Glenn Campbell over at the DPW, to our Board of Ed administration. I know Mr. Reed's out in the audience, so thank you. I'd like to, our superintendent for stepping up and working together with us, and the good part's coming. Bob Vogel, which is also maintenance facility director, for moving the trailers at Vets Middle School. Those trailers were there for many, many years. Finally, everybody got together and they had those trailers moved. My phone was been blowing up in the past couple of days now, thanking me for, but I told everybody it was teamwork from the Board of Ed through council to DPW. Everybody got together and finally moved the trailers. Those that know the field, we got a gorgeous field over there. It's a $1.1 or $1.2 million field, and we had some trailers that were just in the way. So I'd like to big thank you to all those that did a great job getting that job done. Thank you very, very much. And let's not forget this weekend. It's a very special weekend for our vets, prior and past. I want a big thank you for keeping our flag flying high. So I'll be marching, and please have an enjoyable weekend, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Sure. I'd like to echo the councilman's sentiments about Memorial Day. Usually, everybody thinks of Memorial Day, it's the start of summer, everybody's barbecuing, but it is a great holiday, and it's not even really a holiday. It should be a day of remembrance for what our veterans, families, our current men and women serving in the military, and those that have made the ultimate sacrifice for us and for our country. So I just like to thank them and to honor them. I will be also at the parade. Like the mayor said, they are doing a ceremony afterwards that is very nice and moving, and I'm looking forward to that. And I encourage our residents, after they see our parade, come to Town Hall, take part in the remembrance ceremony, and thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. At the last meeting, we did resolutions honoring the Brick Township High School Alumni Wall of Fame inductees for this year. And last week, I had the opportunity to attend the alumni dinner. They honored Stephen Philippone, Donovan Brown, Peter Paneska, and Bill Lloyd. And I just wanted to say that it was really an awe-inspiring evening to sit in the audience and listen to the accomplishments of these men. There were some tears, there were some smiles. There was a lot of people who weren't present in the room because they've gone before us, but their spirits were very, very present. And it was truly, as I said, an awe-inspiring event. These 4 men and all the inductees that have gone before them have contributed so greatly to our quality of life here in Brick Township, and it was wonderful to see the community. They said that they had one of the best turnouts this year that they've ever had, and it was really wonderful to see the community turn out and to celebrate and thank them for their achievements. I also wanted to congratulate again the boys bowling team, the mock trial team, and Mercedes. I kind of had to smile. So often we forget the power of our words as parents and the things that we say to our kids, and just that aside from Dad, you know, yeah, when there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah, and I'm thinking, as I'm listening to that, at some point in time, he probably said to her, and don't play with my cell phone. But it was a good thing that she did this time, and that she took his words to heart. So it's a really an incredible thing for a 9-year-old, and we all thank her, as well as the residents of Point Pleasant as well. Just to echo what Councilwoman Moore and Councilwoman DeYoung said about Memorial Day, I did. I grew up in an era where Memorial Day was about barbecues. It was the first day you went to the beach. You got your beach badges. You bought your swimsuit. But my brother-in-law and his wife are a Blue Star family, and so it's taken on a new meaning for us. And especially this year, my nephew AJ, their oldest son, came back from Afghanistan, safe and well 2 weeks ago. So we look at it a little bit differently, as we all should. And take the time to think of that. And then just finally, the rec brochure is out. It's online. It's around town. Ed did a beautiful job putting it together, and there's a lot of great things going on in there. So pick up a copy and partake of everything that the department has to offer. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to also congratulate Mercedes. She did a great job. Also, congratulations to the Memorial mock trial team and also the bowling team. And thank you to all our veterans and all the people serving now for keeping us free. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. I'd just like to thank all the vets. Memorial Day is coming up, just like everybody else. And I'd just like to say something about the MUA. We did have a commissioner resign, but we did appoint Democrats and Republicans to the commission there. It just wasn't one-sided at all. Mr. Reed, if I can get your phone number so I can, before we leave tonight. Sure. Thank you. And Mr. Russo came up here. I did speak to his wife 2 weeks ago about those dumpsters that were brought up. A month ago, we did discuss that in our committee, and we did speak about going there and trying to resolve this issue before it actually got warm out. And apparently it didn't, maybe it didn't get to the drivers. So we'll straighten that out for Mr. Russo. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you remember 2 weeks ago, we had the chairman of the Budget Advisory Committee speak at the council meeting saying that a few of their members were no longer able to come to the meetings and put their time into reviewing the budget and making suggestions. Since then, we have been able to add a few more people, but I am making a plea to the public to put your name forth, join the committee, get involved in our budget review process. These are your tax dollars that are being spent, and you should wholeheartedly have a say in it. You can get in touch with our council secretary, Jen Hartman. She will pass on the information to get in touch with the chairman to be appointed to that committee. I do want to say Visitation Relief Center. Angela from Hope and Healing used to come to every meeting. Her time is of the essence, though, and she's not able to attend these meetings as often as she likes. But as summer and the warm weather is approaching, they do have changing needs as far as donations go. Of course, they can take perishable and non-perishable donations, but definitely beverages such as water and summer clothing are much more optional. I know I cleaned out my closets this weekend, and I had a ton of winter clothes and jackets to donate, realizing that we're going into the summer season and they probably need different clothing besides winter clothing. So as you're going through and packing away your winter things, if you can keep that in mind, if you come across any nice clothing that you can donate to for the summer season, we would appreciate that. Our next meeting is June 10th at 7 o'clock. And again, to reiterate, Board of Adjustments tomorrow night here at 7 o'clock as well. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
So moved. Everyone in favor?